Hello and welcome to the SuperShow podcast. I'm going to stop at it.
That's the intro. That's the intro.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Chris, we're keeping that.
Because the reason Chris is being like that is because it's actually 20 past 11 and we have just finished watching the PlayStation 5 live event.
Yeah,
and we all feel like Chris looks.
All right, fine. Hey, come on. Hold on there. Jesus.
Wow,
out
get
of order.
personal.
Yes, I am joined by Alex Jones wearing his 007 t-shirt. There we go. Good old
yeah.
Roger Moore. And someone who's looking more and more like a criminal.
A criminal? My hair's coming back. It should be the opposite. I'm moving away from the neo-Nazi
But you're
thing.
you're at that awkward stage where it's like it's a prison haircut. It just
yeah. And I'm also at that awkward stage where it's still all the same length. I haven't got shorter sides or a shorter back yet, so it's just going to be this kind of fuzz that goes out until it gets heavy enough to lay flat. And I've gone from neo-Nazi to criminal. I think the next step is pedo. Honestly, I'm a bit worried.
I think you should shave stripes in the side.
I mean, if ever there were time for experimentation, we're coming out of lockdown, kind of, sort of. I don't really know. I'm not paying attention that much these days.
I think we'll be coming out to go back in, but whatever. It doesn't matter.
So basically, I haven't seen my mum in person yet. I need to get my hair back soon.
Well, there we go. Are the two related? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, as Jonesy mentioned, the PlayStation, stream conference, PlayStation 5 reveal thing has just happened. And we all watched it, and we have some thoughts. But before we get into those thoughts, all right, just very quickly, bear with us, because this show is brought to you by our lovely patrons. Yes, we do have a Patreon. It is patreon.com/supershow. And this show would not exist without your generosity, or potentially your generosity. So we do have some names to read out, which are, a little bit of a thanks attached to them. I'm talking about Brett Zerbrig, Hacksaw Book Read, Matthew Fronzo, Mindful Pig, Peaswad, Tristan Harris, The Dude Abides, and William Sherry. Thank you, fellas, so much. And of course, the two dudes who are, just that one level above, doing, going the extra mile, going the 8 mile, if you will. And that's Lonnie Thompson and Skylar Music. Thank you, guys, so much for making all of this happen.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, so, if you'd like to support us, head on over to patreon.com/supershow. Keep the show alive, keep the dream alive, and hey, you get some stuff in return. You get access to our Discord server. We've got a bunch of additional podcasts that we have locked behind the Patreon. Nothing serious, just a bit of fun, but go check it out. Anyway, guys, something different for this week, all right? We're not going to catch up on what we've been playing because it's pretty much, spoiler alert, just been Warzone. And 2, we're not going to do a comment of the week. We're just going to jump straight into the news because there's a lot to unpack here. Because that PlayStation 5 event, it was an interesting one. Overall, I've come away quite positive on it, but there are a few kind of interesting things to talk about. I guess before we go into it, how did you guys kind of feel coming out of it? Did you feel good? Did you feel rock hard? Did you feel a bitter taste in your mouth?
I don't know if I want to answer either of those two questions directly. You certainly don't need to know about the former. I keep that stuff to myself. I don't talk about my
between you and your sheets. Yeah, all right, I got you.
Well, yeah, but sometimes I do it in the kitchen just to mix things up. Put it in the sink, just because then you can wash it away after.
Your poor housemates.
Yeah, well, they don't need to know. They don't watch this. I mean, they might be listening to me now. I mean, the door's right there, so anything's possible. If I get evicted in the morning, we know why.
Yeah, next week's episode, Jamie's going to be like in a fucking underneath a bridge in an underpass or something.
And I have to tell my next landlord, why did you get evicted from your last house? I used to just jizz in the kitchen sink openly. And eventually
then where has this gone? This is PlayStation 5 event has gone completely off the rails.
I'm going to bring it back around by
jizzing in the kitchen sink.
I'm not going to bring it back around. We're going to leave that where it should be left. Look, I was saying to Jonesy, Chris, just before you jumped on Discord, that I think above all else, I was really positive about this because I'm just happy to be excited about video games again. I'm happy that, we don't want to sweep anything under the rug, but, for a whole bunch of reasons, this entire fucking calendar year has been all kinds of weird for the world and for us as individuals. It's just really cool to be in mid-June and be excited about video games again, to get a live stream of E3 caliber announcements, some big, some small, some awesome, some curious.
Oh yeah, like no mistake about it, right? This was PlayStation's E3 Like if E3 was on and they were still at E3, this is what they'd show us. Like
Yeah.
totally.
And like that's exciting. I was excited. I was sitting down and watching new video games.
I'm right there with you. In fact, I tweeted before the show came out. I was like, hell yeah, we're getting ready to watch the thing. We're gonna record the pod afterwards, and it makes me miss like those E3 days. I kind of got a lot of nostalgia for E3 last year, where we live streamed all of it, like fucking in the middle of the night, going a bit stir crazy. But like, it's just good memories, right?
Yeah, and it's funny. I rewatched some of those in the last couple of days, not in their entirety because. You don't need to sit through entire E3 press conferences all over again. But it was funny watching back our reaction to last year's Ubisoft press conference, which, after not really showing gameplay of anything, closed on a cinematic trailer for the as yet unreleased and no release date available Gods and Monsters.
Monsters, yeah.
Yeah, and you sit there, Chris, and you go, because this was at the time we were filming level ups after them to recap it. You go, I'm not doing a fucking level up for that piece of shit. Like, we were so drained and so unenthusiastic. And hey, like, I know you guys are tired. It's 11:30 here while we're recording, and we're going to be going into the early hours potentially. Hopefully not too deep into them.
I'm good. I got my cola.
There we go. We got some caffeine. But I was going to say, like, we're not sat here glum. It's not like we're not trying to throw shade, but it's not like that Xbox event a couple of weeks ago where we were like, what are the takeaways? What did we learn? What did we see? What can we get excited about? Like, this felt significant.
Yeah, I was excited to jump into a podcast now and just talk about all that stuff, because it's like you said, it's that kind of that enjoyment, not just about the games themselves, but just about the hype and the kind of the pageantry of it all, right? And the previous Xbox One, fair enough, it wasn't their main Xbox kind of, first party thing, but it just felt so flat, especially in comparison to this.
And
it did. I was just saying, well, I always think when you think of things like E3, one of the things that always stands out to me is when you imagine that crowd sitting in front of the stage, the cheering when they see something they really like. Yeah. And you have to have a few of those moments where you can imagine the crowd there like going, yeah, like getting really into it. And the Xbox sort of announcement a little while ago didn't really have any of those moments for me, but this had at least a few where I could imagine everyone, clapping, cheering, sort of celebrating.
Except you're sitting there, sat in front of your monitor, and you just like you're seeing something cool, and you go, huh.
I have a little sound effect I just play on my phone that goes, yeah, and just starts clapping.
Well, Jonesy has that for his life. It's like a motivational thing where he has people cheer him on when he does everyday activities.
But that's kind of what they're doing with the is it the Premier League, Jamie, where they on the
cardboard cutouts?
No, on Sky.
Fake crowd noises.
Fake crowd noises. You can add it in as an option.
Yeah, I've heard something about that. Because sports sound weird without crowds.
Yeah.
But I think it's a cool kind of weird. It's just different. One thing this did have, in the absence of crowd noises and those big pop moments that we talk about, was it did still have the thing I love about these press conferences when we did it on WhatsApp this time, ironically, rather than in person, which is this blank? Is this blank? Is this blank? Are they showing blank? And like there are a few moments where we're obviously going to get into all the games, what we thought of them on an individual basis in some cases, but there was a game they showed right at the beginning, not right at the beginning, but very near the beginning, that I didn't think would be there at all, and they almost opened with it. So, like, I was, in the moment, I was very happy.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm glad you mentioned the games, because that was almost... I mean, they started off the thing and they're like, hey, here's a little bit of a spiel, blah, 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 PlayStation 5. But hey, we'll let the games do the talking. And that's pretty much what went on. There were a couple of
this was touted as a game, like, event,
game showcase.
It wasn't. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. But to be fair, that's what it felt like. I must say, I remember saying, I can't remember who the conversation was before, was they have to reveal the console. And I think I will get to that in the end. But they had to do that at least, but it was a games first event.
Yeah, so I'm sure everybody by now, if you're listening to the podcast, would have seen what the console looks like. But we'll get into that, all right? But, okay, let's just go straight into it, all right? Like, overall, loads of games there. And it was confirmed to be releasing a holiday of this year, which is, I mean, we kind of expected it, but it's good to always have a like an official statement regarding it. But again, we still don't know what that supply chain is going to be like. Hopefully, pretty good, especially after this. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of hype geared towards getting this console at launch.
If nothing else, it seems definitive now that these consoles are not being delayed, which is nice.
Yeah, 100%. So there was a good spread of games, right? Like a lot of varied genres, a little bit of something for everyone. You know, you had your kids' games, your more serious games, your indie games, your games for dinosaur furries. But we'll get into that. And overall, it seemed like a decent amount of titles for a launch window. But I do have some thoughts on it though. But let's maybe get into it. We'll talk about the hardware getting towards the end of it, because that's kind of where they showed it in sense of the actual reveal itself. And I think it's best to just go like as they revealed stuff. So they started off right, like they started off with a Rockstar logo, and I was like, oh my god, they're coming out swinging, they're coming out heavy. What are they gonna, is it gonna be like a Red Dead definitive thing with maybe like some kind of an add-on or something? No, it was GTA 5. Yes, that's right. In 2020, the future of PlayStation is GTA 5. Fucking hell. But
do you know what's funny about this one, right? So I think I messaged you guys in the group because given the next game they revealed, I thought that the first game they were talking about, obviously GTA 5, I thought they were going to then just put a logo up for GTA 6 or something. It felt like if they were going to have a really strong start, GTA 5 coming to the PlayStation 5, I mean, that is cool, and a lot of people are going to be excited. And they announced the fact, for example, we were saying about the PlayStation 4 players are going to get $1 million a month until it gets released.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And there was and it's going to be their biggest money making machine. So why wouldn't they put it onto the Playstation 5?
Oh, totally. GTA Online? Yeah. It was like a no brainer, right? Like obviously it was going to be on GTA 5.
It was, but so this is my question, right? Given the fact of the game that they revealed after this one, why didn't they lead with...
Yeah. I don't know. I'll tell you why. Rockstar paid them a fuckload of money.
Well, absolutely. It has to be that.
I think it's Rockstar money, but I also think being good friends with Rockstar is still kind of a flex for anyone. Like, if you can come out and be like, look, we don't have GTA 6 or Bully 2 or whatever the fuck is next from those guys. Probably GTA 6. We don't even have Red Dead 2 remastered yet. But what we can tell you is that these guys are still the biggest developers on planet Earth. The next game they announce will be the biggest game on planet Earth.
And we'll be there. Yeah.
We'll be there. We're the partner. We're going to get the exclusive shit. Their trailer's going to be with us. And then the PlayStation 5, the next generation, that isn't changing. What does this mean for now? The 7-year-old game is going to continue to be the best-selling game. Like, there's going to be a time where I know some of the numbers around Tetris and Minecraft and shit like that are outrageous, but there's going to be a time where GTA 5 is just widely acknowledged as
dude, across 3 consoles, of course it will be.
That's what's mad about it.
Ridiculous.
It's 3 consoles.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, 3 generations.
The amount of money that game must have generated, because it still can be pretty expensive outside of sales, is just unfathomable. And then you get online and... Yeah.
It's not on Switch, is it?
No.
See, I reckon if they do it on Switch, then they'll go into Tetris territory.
It's possible. It's possible.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the next game, though? Because
please, go ahead. Jonesy, I know you're chomping at the bit there, so go for it.
Because no one thought this was going to happen, right? So
I thought it was going to happen.
Miles Morales was announced, and we had a little bit of a teaser, a trailer as well, which was very cool. A little bit of gameplay, I think there was in there. You had him swinging through some streets.
Yeah.
Very briefly.
A little bit of action as well.
Yeah.
But I think we've spoken about it leading up to this event, and I think, and I've heard other people as well saying, "Oh, will we see Spider-Man 2?" And then obviously this gets announced, and a lot of people are saying, "Nah, it's too early," and it is too early. It's far too early for them to announce the sequel. So then we were sort of having a quick discussion about we don't actually know whether or not this is the sequel to Spider-Man, as in it's Spider-Man 2, or whether this is some sort of like intermediary title that they've made before Spider-Man 2 drops. But either way, I cannot wait to get my hands on Spider-Man Miles Morales on the PlayStation 5.
Looks very cool.
That just...
I'll say this though, it's definitely not Spider-Man 2, right? Because if you think about what Spider-Man 2 would be to Spider-Man, it would be the continuation of Peter Parker's story.
Yep.
Yeah,
right?
Sure, yeah.
And this is Miles Morales, the name's on the fucking tin. So maybe it's just a case of, it's almost like a very comic book way of looking at doing things, right? Where sequels aren't a thing. It's just multiple stories in the same universe, and you can go step away from that story and then come back to this story, and then
So in like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years time, there's going to be Spider-Man 3, there's going to be Miles Morales 3, there's going to be Spider-Gwen 1, there's going to be
totally.
I
reckon.
maybe
I reckon.
maybe for sure. That's what comic books do.
Chris is right in that, without going into spoiler territory, there were elements of the first Spider-Man game that set up concepts and story threads and threats even that it wouldn't make sense for Miles Morales to step in and fight, because it just wouldn't have the same investment. There were things that were set up through the entirety of Spider-Man that need to come back around again in a sequel. The other thing about the little bit of gameplay they did show is it looked to me, unless I was mistaken, that it was snowing. I forget where is it. Just set in New York?
Yeah.
It looked like
Manhattan
Island. Yeah, it looked like it was snowing. Which, again, not saying this is a bad thing, good thing, what have you, but like changing the weather or environment is a quick and easy way to change a map that we already know slightly to make.
Yeah, I mean, New York's New York, right?
Like the fact is, like, we all expected. There's another big first-party game we're going to talk about later that we all expected. That game came out over a year before Spider-Man. Like, this is very early for a new title, but I think if Insomniac were willing to do this, to get this out for the launch of the PlayStation 5, like, that's a big get, and that's a huge title to pack in with a brand new console.
Yeah.
The biggest launch title maybe that I can remember. I don't remember what launched alongside the 360 and the PS3 super well, but one of, if not the biggest launch titles ever in recent memory.
It's pretty big.
Can I go there?
Certainly in the last 15 years.
If they were to release a Spider-Man Miles Morales special edition PlayStation 5, I would be tempted.
Over it.
I would definitely be tempted.
Like some sleek black, like Spider-Verse style shit.
With the webbing and stuff, that'd be so
I said cool. It in the WhatsApp chat they were having while the thing was going on, and I was like, this alone is a reason for me to buy PlayStation 5 on launch.
Yep.
With maybe one or two other titles, but yeah, I just hope it's going to be as long as the original Spider-Man game was, and not like, hopefully. It's a short kind of thing. But it does make sense. It is a surprise that it's here and it is a launch title. That was a really nice surprise. But it does make sense if you think that one of the first things that they kind of showed off about, like, hey, this is a PlayStation 5, was actually Spider-Man fucking swinging through, and showing the load times of the buildings, and you can swing faster because now it loads in. And so obviously they were kind of using that as a test bed. So
right, and didn't Sony they bought Insomniac, right?
Yeah.
Like outright at some point. So this was maybe just a thing where they looked at Insomniac's tech and said, look, the things you guys work with is like the tech you've got is extremely flexible. It would be a great way to get a game up and running very early in the PS5's life cycle.
Right.
That experiments with some of the things you're able to do. And that also leans into, not to jump ahead, but it's not the only Insomniac game we're going to talk about. And the other Insomniac game we're going to talk about was also heavily advertised on having features that tie to the PS5's supposed strengths.
Yeah, because that's what you need with launch titles, right? You need stuff to show off what the console is capable of.
100%.
Right. 100%. Okay. So
it kind of blows me away. And in one sense, I mean, no, we're right at the beginning of this list, but so effectively, in this year, right, we've only got 6 months left of 2020, the year that never was, but we're still looking forward to the release of Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, and now Spider-Man Miles Morales and Cyberpunk 2077. I mean, this is a heck of a second half of 2020.
Yeah,
it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better.
It's almost, if you close your eyes and all the shit that the world isn't burning around you, it's quite a decent year.
Yeah.
Well, let's get there first. Let's get to the future.
Xbox are going to come out with a few big games this year. Halo obviously leading the charge there. Ubisoft will certainly have some big games this year. Valhalla leading the charge there, so on and so forth.
Hopefully
Warner Brothers maybe?
Oh yeah, I was expecting something from Warner Brothers.
Surprised Warner Brothers still haven't revealed any of their cards. Any of them.
Yeah, it's kind of mad.
Just give us one. You've got three big things. Give us one.
I will say this though, just a little bit of future gazing. All right. I think Xbox are probably going back to the drawing board a little bit after seeing this, I would imagine. Right, and maybe just like making sure that they're all on board with what they need to do to try and beat the PlayStation showing. But I think that their launch titles are maybe going to be a little bit more robust than what PlayStation is serving up.
The Xbox ethos at the moment is we've spent a shitload of money buying studios, we've let them all have loads of time to make games, and now they're all going to give us those games.
Yeah.
So the way they've advertised their July event, which is their counterpart to this one, is that it's super first-party heavy. I don't think it will have zero third-party, but Xbox is going to be a lot more like, here's all the shit we're making. Here's Halo, here's Fable, here's Forza on a new engine, here's what Obsidian are doing, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, last thing I wanted to say about Spider-Man Miles Morales. Jeez, this is going to be a long podcast.
It's the biggest or second biggest game of the showing, so we can get away with it.
Yeah. I was kind of, like, obviously I like Miles Morales. I think he's a cool character. I think he's a cool Spider-Man, and I just hope that they differentiate him enough from Peter Parker in the gameplay and all of that, right? Because otherwise it's a missed opportunity. You don't want to just take Peter Parker, give him quite literally a different skin, and just be like, it's the same fucking thing, right? But
I don't see how they can't do that, though, because even the age differential between the sort of slightly older, more jaded Peter Parker of
no, but I'm not even saying like story-wise. I'm just saying like gameplay-wise. Like if it plays exactly how...
right. So you want him to be more of a... You want the game to feel more Miles Morales as well.
Yeah, it's got to be different, right? Like obviously he's a less experienced Peter Parker.
Oh, the idea that you get to do like a whole training thing where he's learning how to become... Cool. That'd be wicked, because we kind of missed out on that with the Spider-Man before, because it was... You already knew everything and you were kind of...
Which was... I think,
you just made me even more excited for this game now.
But look, I think that was the right call for the original Spider-Man, is just saying, no, it's... You know the story. We don't have to go through fucking Uncle Ben's death and all that shit.
Plus, Miles Morales' origin story is in the first Spider-Man game.
Yes.
Yeah. His tragic event is something that we've already seen again. So,
I just realised what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Do you remember at the end of the original Spider-Man game, well, the last one, where Miles Morales is calling you on the phone and he's going like, "Hey man, can you?" And he says, "Oh, not Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker. Maguire. It's late." Peter Parker says to you like, "Oh, I'll teach you the ropes. We'll go through some stuff." The idea that you get taught how to be Spider-Man by Peter Parker in the new game, that would be pretty wicked.
That's fucking sick, yeah.
Watching him do his stuff and then you've got to follow him and do things, that would be really cool.
But the last thing I wanted to say about it was it's two things, okay? A big one and a small one. So a big one is, I think I am going to miss not playing as Peter Parker. I really kind of resonated with how they portrayed him in that game, and all the things that he was going through and all the story beats and the character development. I really, really, really liked it. Not to say that I'm not going to like Miles Morales, and I'm sure they'll do a good job, but I am missing that Peter Parker element as well, I think.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, obviously, because the PlayStation 5 tech is like, oh, hey, no loading screens, I'm going to miss out on that cool piano loading song that they had on fucking Spider-Man.
Right. The scenes in the subway train.
The fast travel, the
subway
cool.
carriage.
I loved that shit. I mean, obviously it was like fucking polishing a turd, right? Like you don't want them, but they were nice little moments. So I wonder how they can maybe bring in some of those moments. Anyway, just a small thing, but maybe I need to go back and play that Spider-Man game again, because that's pretty fucking cool. All right, anyways, moving on. Gran Turismo 7. I mean, it's a given, pretty much like PlayStation launches a new console and there's a Gran Turismo on it, you know?
Right. Is there much you can say about Gran Turismo in this day and age?
Yeah, I mean, Gran Turismo is Gran Turismo, right? It is the best racing sim on any console, bar none. Fight me.
I don't know if you guys would agree, but I always find every time I see a new Gran Turismo, I feel like, it's almost like watching a FIFA game. Oh, well done, you've made an incremental step forward, being more towards photorealism.
Yeah,
it looks even better.
I mean, racing's racing, right?
Yeah, it's kind of weird for me. It's like, okay, I'm not going to play this like I didn't play the last 5.
Well, so that's an interesting thing, Jonesy, because they've obviously tried to add more to the package than just a standard, hey, here's Gran Turismo 7. Because he
called it a campaign, right?
So there's a campaign in it, okay, and that's fine. Like a campaign's fine. There was a weird kind of like thing where, to me, it just looked like The Sims, to be honest, where it was like an overview map, and then there was like this woman, like I don't know, fucking Amanda or whatever her fucking name was, saying like, oh hey, you can go to your garage over, and it's just like, what is this? This is bizarre. But I'm like, if I had to, I don't know if that was a launch title, but if I had to pick up not if I had to, I mean I will because of Spider-Man, but I will be getting Spider-Man and I will be getting Gran Turismo because fuck yeah, Gran Turismo is fucking cool.
Yeah, like I get what Jonesy's saying, and as someone who is still very much in the Xbox ecosystem, Forza's obviously been there a lot, and I've bought a lot of Forza games, both of Motorsport and Horizon variety over the recent years, and I kind of get it. Like, cars seem to be an easy thing to make look good. Not easy, that's not fair, but cars are a good way to show off tech. They always have been, and apparently they always will be. Whether I can get excited about this as a game remains to be seen.
That's what it is for me. I feel like if you like Gran Turismo and you've liked it, because I remember playing Gran Turismo 3 and stuff back in the day, and you think like, oh, these games are really cool, they look amazing, and then 4 or 5, and you're like, oh, they're incremental increases on a formula that works, and then you're all the way down to like 7, and I'm like, I didn't play the last few, I'm not going to play this one. Whereas there are some games, even racing games, and we're going to talk about one in a bit, that I'm like, I'm going to play that. It's a racing game, but I want to play that game. It looks awesome. It looks different, it's doing new things. But I suppose there's not a lot they can do with driving sims, because they can't go too far outside of what their core audience want, because you might just lose them.
Well, this is the thing, like the core racing sim needs to stay true to that racing ethos, right? It's not like you can be like, oh yeah, you can upgrade your car to have missiles. It's like this. It's not that kind of thing.
It'll be the equivalent of like get in FIFA, like you give them chainsaws, like that American football game on like the PlayStation 1. It's like, what have you done to football? Yeah, you can't mess with driving.
It was called Blood Bowl or something. The one thing that they didn't say though is if you have to sign a gentleman's agreement in order to play the game. So
dude, I forgot all about that story.
Yeah, that was fucking bizarre. Weird. Did you know about that, Jonesy?
I did not.
In GTA 6, you know, like you start the game up and it's like, no, you need to agree to this gentleman's agreement to like not be a douchebag when you race. Otherwise it doesn't let you play the game.
Right. Yeah. I like the idea there's like a little fat rubber hand comes out the front of the console. You have to shake it to agree.
You know, you had to put on the VR headset and then, bow down to the Japanese.
You have to sign a contract on the touchpad of the controller. You have to like put a little scribble in.
Nice, I like it. All right, cool. Then we go to we kind of teased it before, but Insomniac's second game, which was a huge surprise to me. I had no idea that this was in the works. But yeah, I mean, you guys are probably better suited to intro it.
I mean, yeah. So it's Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart to get straight to it, which is a follow up, perhaps even. I'm not 100% sure. Ratchet and Clank game to the one that Insomniac Games made a couple of years ago, which itself was kind of a weird thing where there was a Ratchet and Clank movie, and they kind of made a game that tied into the movie, and this seems to be a sequel to that. What we can confirm is it's not being made by a different team. It is Insomniac Games, so they are making 2 games at once in the form of this and Spider-Man. And it kind of, based on what they showed some cinematic stuff, but also quite a fair bit of gameplay. And I think that it's another situation where Sony have gone to Insomniac and made a tech showcase. You know, this art style lends itself quite well to being pretty, and you can tell they focused on 2 things in particular. One was the speed of the SSD, because the gimmick of this game, as the name would suggest, is opening up rifts into different sort of parallel universes that you kind of like get sucked through, and it's different on the other side.
Yeah, it's a cool looking animation that they got to do it, right? Like you pull the rift towards you and it just changes the whole setting.
Right, which I guess is like, again, that's the power of the SSD, how many assets it can load in and how quickly. The other thing that this was very big on was particle effects. They were everywhere.
I like that all 3 of us, I wrote that down as well, watching it. I put particles, Chris in the things, but so many particles, and you mentioned it as well. They were everywhere, like they are really pushing
you thought Final Fantasy VII Remake it was a particle fest.
That's nothing.
Nothing compared to this. But you know that last game was actually really good. It was like just a fun little adventure, fun little romp. I don't think it was full price. I don't know if this one will be.
Yeah.
So
wasn't the previous one like a remake of the original Ratchet and Clank?
Well, it was a tie-in to the movie, which essentially made it a retelling of the story of the first one. But it was never really. I don't know if they advertised it as a remake. Maybe they did. But it was good.
I thought they did. But anyway, yeah. Okay.
I thought for me, What stood out, I think, with this was like you say, it's a showcase, but it looked like a full interactive, fun, colourful, like just fun game. Like it looks like it'd be a really fun time. It definitely is the sort of game. I can't remember what the game was called, but it's the sort of game you expect to be a launch title of a system, because you can pick it up and it kind of, in a few levels, it has shown you, oh wow, this is what this system can do. Right, but it's not trying to reinvent anything on a major scale that we will see in a number of years, maybe, once they figure out what the system can do to its fullest extent, if you know what I mean.
I don't know if this is what you were getting at, Jonesy, but it's almost like a more effective Knack.
Knack, I was thinking of Knack as I even watched it.
I thought
because the whole thing with Knack was like, hey, we're showing you what the PlayStation 4 can do.
Yeah,
it's it can do blah 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 blah, and this feels like that's exactly what they've gone for. But it looked really effective. It had me saying, oh shit, I might buy a Ratchet and Clank game. Wow. Even for some of those, like the particle physics and the dimension shifting stuff, which looked very cool.
The dimension stuff looked really cool, but I don't know. I saw it and I was like, this looks really, really cool. And if it just kind of kills me that I'm just like, I'm not. It's not really making me moist, fellas. If I'm being perfectly honest with you.
But I don't think it's that type of game, though, right? It's more like this looks like a lot of fun. It's not like holy shit, this looks amazing.
Yeah, but see, I kind of think like when Ratchet and Clank like came out, when was it? Like PlayStation 2, right?
Yeah.
And it's like in PlayStation 2, it kind of made sense in terms of the ecosystem and the kind of games that you would get on the PlayStation 2. Like now, so many different experiences are coming out. They're all vying for your attention. And while Ratchet and Clank looks good and Insomniac games have a high pedigree, the game will be incredibly polished, I'm sure. And it's got all of these cool mechanics to show off the power of the PS5. I just like, I probably, and this is a personal thing. I mean, I know I'm a small cross section of the gamers out there, but I just rather put my time elsewhere. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to justify that. That makes sense. I can see that for you.
Yeah. Right. I mean, anything else you guys want to talk about Ratchet and Clank?
No. Happy to see it. Honestly, I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. So moving on, then we got an interesting title. This is the thing about a lot of these trailers that they showed off. They didn't really. They looked good, but they didn't really tell you anything, right?
Yes.
Which is kind of none more so emblematic than this one. So this was coming from Square Enix, and it's called Project Athia or Athia. I don't know how they'd kind of pronounce that. It looked seriously stunning. I was like, oh my god, yes, this looks fucking amazing. In terms of its visual fidelity, it looked top notch. Almost what I expect from a Square Enix title. I mean, I don't know if people remember me talking about Final Fantasy VII, and one of the disappointments I had was the environments looked like last gen, the way that they were constructed and the textures. And this is kind of coming back to that old school tradition of Square Enix saying, we're at the forefront of fucking graphical technology here. It looked amazing. Maybe I'm overhyping it, but I thought it looked really cool. But Jamie made it...
Sorry, go on.
No, you go ahead, Joe.
I kind of disagree a bit. Like, I don't know if maybe it was just that trailer and it didn't really showcase it to me that well, but there was a slight oddness to the movement and the way that, I don't know, it kind of gave me a bit of a weird feeling. It made me feel, oh, this is a very certain type of title, and that maybe appeals to some people. And I can imagine like PC gamers who like that's the sort of style of game that they were pushing. It was a weird one for me. I watched it and was like, no, like immediately I was like, I'm out. It was something about the movement, the design, the style, the look, and I just immediately.
I will say it's a very Square Enix game. So, I mean, fair enough.
Yeah, I think I'm curious as well because the studio behind it, I think they're called Luminous. Luminous
Studios, or
they haven't made a game yet. They were basically a brand new studio that was formed in 2018 by Square Enix to make AAA projects. I believe this is their first real project. And I don't know if you guys know Gary Whitta. Like, he was a screenwriter who wrote like Star Wars Rogue One and things like that. Yeah, and has done a lot of stuff. So he's basically confirmed that he led, quote unquote, a crack team of A-list writers from the worlds of TV, film, and games and fantasy literature who helped create this immense new universe for Square Enix. So they are enlisting.
That makes me really excited now.
Right, which also suggests there's almost like, you don't want to draw the lines too much, but like for Square Enix at least, more of a Western kind of like spin on this potential fantasy world. I think Square Enix putting money into big, good-looking, potentially exciting like RPGs with interesting people behind them. Like, I'm curious to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
You know when you see a tech demo for a game, it felt like that to me. And you see a tech demo and you go, that's never going to be a real game. I don't know what it meant. It gave me.
That's really funny, Jonesy, because as I was watching it, I was like, oh, this is the Unreal 5 tech demo that they showed off.
Oh, right.
I just got that kind of vibe from it. So, yeah, I mean, you're not wrong in terms of that. Jamie said something very interesting in our chat, saying, oh, yeah, Square Enix game with project in the title, it'll come out in 5 years' time. And then I said, yeah, more like 15, dude.
You're probably more accurate than I was. Like,
how long did, I think it was like 8 years or something for Final Fantasy 15 to come out?
Dude, who knows? Like, keeping up with that shit, like...
yeah, exactly.
And, take them as much time as you need, but, like, I think we've all been burnt at least once by a story like this, so we all know not to get too ahead of ourselves, right?
Yeah. For someone like me who's a big Square Enix fan, this is kind of like... Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the hype, but then you remember, like, oh no, hold on, it is Square Enix at the end of the day. It's like, okay, cool, you Jets.
Yeah.
Notably missing from this showcase was anything Final Fantasy VII related.
Right, there was some...
Just makes me kind of sad, really,
There were some rumours going around before the press conference or show started that maybe in the form of Final Fantasy VII Remake 2, some people even going as far as to suggest Final Fantasy 16, that there would be something here, but alas, no.
I wonder if Final Fantasy 16 is a bit of a stretch in my professional opinion, but anyway.
Do you think they get the entirety of 7 out of the way before they go back to 16, or do you think the two series coexist?
I think two series could coexist, but not now. I think Final Fantasy VII was too much of a success for them, and obviously they've got a big task ahead of them to kind of you commit to an episodic game structure, like you need all hands on deck, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's the way I see it. I could imagine if they said that they're going to do a trilogy like they were hinting at, I think that after they release the second entry, then they can start forking out the teams. But
yes,
that's my 2 cents on it. Anyway,
okay, makes sense.
Yeah, not much more to say about that. Again, like I said, a lot of these, they're just kind of like, here's this cool little cinematic with maybe a smidgen of gameplay and we're out. So the next one that was like that was Stray. Which,
yeah,
I got no idea what that is, but it looks cool.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know what it is. It's got cats and robots, and the cat is leading the robots and shit. You know what it reminded me of? What was that? You quite liked the game, Jamie. We played it on stream on ATG. It was the Urban Genie or something.
Concrete Genie.
It kind of gave me that kind of vibe.
I did like Concrete Genie. Okay, I can see that. Yeah, sure.
It gave me that kind of vibe, like a nice, cool, no fuss kind of game, it seems. I don't know. But yeah, like, who the fuck can tell, right? It looks cool.
Right, like, you got to be careful nowadays. It's easy to see these kind of smaller independent games in the middle of these jam-packed press conferences as a lull, but you never know what's going to turn around and be just like the most overwhelmingly, like, touching, beautiful, poignant game of the year by someone's metric in a year's time. We don't always agree with it, but that stuff happens.
Like, this could be this generation's journey for all we know. Like, fuck, who could tell?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what's not going to be this year's journey?
What's not going to be this year's journey?
The next fucking game.
Returnal. I missed the name. I missed the name of this one,
dude. I
such a bad name.
I don't mind it. Okay,
I will be honest with you. Okay, from the gameplay aspect of it, I thought, this looks okay. Like, I could probably get on board with it. I put in my notes here, it looks interesting, because it does look interesting. Some of the choices, though, dude. Why have they got a 45-year-old mom as the protagonist?
Can I think I told you already, but can I tell you what I wrote down because I didn't know the title to remember it? I called it Weird Timey Dark Alien Planet Groundhog Day Lady.
That's pretty much
because that's what the game was.
I think that sums it up pretty nicely. I think it was. Sorry, Jonesy, you go for it.
I was just going to say, interestingly, it was one of two games that kind of seemed to follow the same idea, like replaying the same time period over and over again.
Oh, right, yes.
And it reminded me, in not the gameplay aspect, but that of the way that things change. And if you guys were playing the Outer Wilds and crashing into the sun. Was it Outer Wilds you guys played?
Yeah, that was Outer Wilds.
Well, that was Jamie and Steph.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, it was.
But the concept, I love that sort of concept. But yeah, I get what you mean about the... It did look a bit odd at the same time. It was a bit of a strange one.
I just think like there was nothing aspirational about that character. I don't want to play that character.
No, it didn't.
I have no problem playing that character. I don't know enough about her yet, Chris. Give her a chance.
I can tell you about her. Her name's Karen. She has 3 kids.
And she wants her steak medium to well.
No, she
wants to speak to the manager.
She was walking her dog and she found a black family having a barbecue in a park, and she decided that she had to call the police. She dialed 911, got sucked into the phone, and ended up in a surreal sci-fi nightmare.
If that's the Jesus Christ.
I will say it's developed by Housemarque, who made a lot of kind of all the stuff they'd made recently with these sort of usually top-down twin-stick super arcadey arcade shooters. So you might have heard of things like Resogun. You guys remember we made a gameplay video of Alien Nation.
Oh yeah,
and then they actually released 2 games in 2017. The last time they were putting things out, Nex Machina and Matterfall, which were again both arcadey, super particle-heavy twin-stick shooters. You can see a bit of that in the gameplay.
Yeah, the particle-wise, a little bit of
bullet. I think we're going to say the same thing.
Bullet hell, yeah.
Yeah, bullet hell, but it's third person.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It could.
I think they should just call it what Jonesy called it. To be honest,
yeah. Returnal. Come on,
Returnal. That's fucking cool. Returnal.
It's not cool. It's a terrible name.
Doom Returnal.
Doom Returnal.
It's Doom Guy's mum. That explains everything. Yeah. She let the demons out of hell.
Oh. So moving on to the next one is one that Jonesy was very excited for, which was Sackboy: A Big Adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe you even put in the notes that Sackboy looks worn out.
Dude, I mean, they had some zoom ins on him. This was before the end where he was just bent over looking tired. But he was just all frayed and shit. And I was like, come on, guys. Like, you're doing a disservice to Sackboy here. This is crazy.
I used to have a lot of fun playing local co-op with Little Big Planet. And it's a game that I enjoyed a lot. I mean, even down to the just like dragging your mates around by their head and stuff. Like, I used to play a lot with my wife. Played Little Big Planet 1 and 2 and enjoyed it. And, genuinely think those are a lot of fun games. And also having kids who are coming up to the right age. I mean, when this drops, my eldest will be like nearly 5. So I'm like, that's bang on. And I always think there's place and space for them to intuit around the concept. It can be so clever. It can be tired and it can get a bit old, especially if they're a bit repetitive and some of the levels get a bit, played out. But I love that concept. So I'm definitely up for another. It's been a while since I've played a Little Big Planet game. I'm up for a Sackboy adventure.
Well, so it's 4-player co-op, which I think is good. And like I said at the top of this, it seems like they've got a little bit of something for everyone. And this is obviously geared. It's weird, right? Because obviously it's hitting that nostalgia point for people with Little Big Planet. But then at the same time, it's also like, geared at kids and something. I don't know. It looks okay. It's, not for me. What's happening in my hair?
It reminded me. You look fine. Don't worry. I mean, now you don't look fine. Please put it back. There you go. That's much better. You got a nice clear forehead. You should be showing it off.
I don't have a clear forehead.
Not like me. I've got an absolute humdinger right there.
Here we go. Okay.
Oh, come on, no, Chris. You're gonna get put on a register.
Oh no. There you go. Oh, good lord. That's fine.
You just about get away with that. There we go. Now we're back to.
All right.
I was just gonna say that it reminded me of what Nintendo have been doing with Yoshi and Kirby the last couple of years.
Yes.
I was getting like heavy vibes off that. Not quite as committed to it's kind of got that not even 2.5D. Like they were willing to kind of like move around environments quite freely.
But it's quite cutesy.
Yeah, quite cutesy. Not as colourful as other comparable games. Like, I'll be honest, if I was in Jonesy's situation looking at like, holy shit, and you're not, well, you're a little bit further behind, Chris, but this could be the generation of consoles that your kids get into. Certainly with Jonesy's oldest, maybe not with your guy's youngest. Maybe a little while off. But certainly
hold on, because how long has PS4 been around for? Like
7 years.
Yeah, so he'd been running.
The idea that my eldest will be 11 if by the time we get to PlayStation 6, if we ever do, that's kind of mad for me.
Yeah.
Like, so he's all over this. This is his console.
Yeah,
so yeah.
That's crazy, but I was going to say, if I was in that situation, no disrespect to Sackboy, there would be other games that had stood out to me as things I'd want to play with my son or daughter.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. As I was watching this, I was thinking to myself, actually coming from Jonesy's perspective, would Jonesy be playing this with his kids? And then I just thought to myself, but Jonesy's got a Switch, so...
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm saying on this console, there's plenty of other games we will be playing. It's not, but I just like Sackboy and I like Little Big Planet and I like that. And we haven't played one for a while. Like there've been a few that we've sort of skipped out on just because after you play a few, you need a bit of a breather. And I think I'm in the right place to play another one.
So good.
Right, so from that we went to something which I think universally we all agreed looked pretty damn cool. A bit of a surprise. Yeah. It started off kind of weird, right? It's Destruction AllStars. So it started off with like the kind of intro videos to the characters that you would select. And I'm like, oh, what is this? Is this like another hero squad shooter?
Right.
I was like, oh, God, here we go.
Do you know what I thought it was?
Yeah.
I thought it was that Ubisoft game, Roller Champions.
At one point, I thought it was that as well. So for people who don't know, Roller Champions is kind of like Ubisoft's take on Rocket League in a way, but with rollerblade dudes. But no, this actually looked really cool. So it's a destruction derby vehicle race thing.
Yeah.
But the nice little hook about it is two things. The cars can kind of get like almost Carmageddon like upgrades where you can add in like, I don't know, like big fucking blades and shit to tear up other cars. But the other side of it is you can actually jump out of your car and jump.
That was the coolest aspect. I thought the whole thing,
and jump onto other people's cars and try and like fuck them up, or they could also jump out their cars and then you could like kick each other. I'm like, hell yeah, that looks fucking cool. That looks fun.
It almost really reminded me of Titanfall, like seeing little humans running around, wall running and stuff like that, and like timing a jump perfectly to just jump over a car so they don't get splatted.
Yeah. It looks like a lot of fun. Like especially as a party game, I think it would be really fucking cool.
There was a cool little emote, or I suppose what it was, where a guy jumped up in the air, did like a dance move as a car went underneath him. And I like the idea of that. It did look quite Rocket League. I thought even the aesthetics and stuff looked very Rocket League.
Yeah, you could tell they're trying to start this. They're going for like an esport kind of vibe, right?
See, I think it looks like one of those esport type games that just misses.
Yeah,
it looks like a lot of fun, but I think this is going to be
really aggravating. And I know you're not meant to do this on podcast, but there's a game it really reminds me of that its name escapes me, and it came out a couple of years ago. Initially, fully paid, and it was made by it was like Codemasters or something like that, one of the UK-based driving developers. And then it was a PlayStation Plus game at some point, and it was like an arcadey style racer. We're almost like a MotorStorm style racer where a bunch of cars are all going around this track at the same time, but you could crash each other and smash into each other. And it had a one-word name.
It's not MotorStorm, is it?
No. It was like Onrush. That was it. Yes, Onrush. It gave me heavy Onrush vibes, and Onrush was severely underappreciated. I always felt.
Yeah, I remember the stage where you were playing Onrush and you really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had a real soft spot for Onrush because it just nailed the feeling of that like Destruction Derby cross with race style gameplay. Yeah. And I'd love to see some of that in this.
The only thing that I was wondering about this, and I thought that maybe they're trying too much with the art style and the races and the tracks and getting out of the vehicle, and other people can get out the vehicle and you could fight each other there, and then you could upgrade the vehicles and you could have like cutting cars in half, and it just like it almost made me think like, you know what was really good was Wipeout. Wipeout was fucking simple. You're just racing really fast and you have a couple of weapons, right? And I almost thought to myself, and then you look at Rocket League, you look at those kinds of things, and it's like the concept is simple, and that's why they were so effective. And is this maybe trying too much? And maybe, Jonesy, it's what you're saying. It's like, oh, they're trying to go that esports route, but maybe because they've got too much going on that it's going to fail. It's going to have its core niche for sure, but it just seemed like too much to me.
Not as pick up and play as bull as you'd hope.
Oh yeah, I mean, I entirely could be wrong on that.
We'll see. We'll see.
It's almost like it seems like the best esport games tend to be the ones that never start life like that. They're relatively straightforward games that have quite intricate back ends where people can exploit certain aspects, and they can make the game in their own image, right? So they can develop them in their own right to play in a certain way, have certain tactics. When a company go, here's all these shitloads of stuff you can do in the game, it's too much. So no one can
basically like Dota, yeah.
No,
because even Dota's the idea. I think Dota's bang on with the same thing. It's like a relatively simple concept, but you can get super intricate with it.
What was
go super deep?
What was Cliffy B's hero shooter?
Oh, Lawbreakers.
Lawbreakers,
right, yeah.
That was one that was like backed itself to be an esport before the community made it an esport, and that's an example of how that can go wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, moving on. This is a really interesting one. It's a game called Kenna, Bridge of Spirits. A gorgeous-looking trailer by all accounts. Some really cool-looking gameplay. Now, what's interesting about it is it's coming from a game studio called Ember Studios. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, Jamie, you pointed this out to me, because I was like, it was stuck in my head. I was like, Ember, who are these guys? It rang a bell, but I didn't realize why. And the reason is because they weren't a game development studio initially. They had created a short for Majora's Mask, like a live action 3D. I'm probably not explaining it properly, but they did a Majora's Mask short on YouTube, and it was absolutely amazing. And they had another project on the go as well, I think. But yeah, now they're making games, and this looks really cool.
Yeah, it does. The short, by the way, for anyone interested, is called Majora's Mask Terrible Fate, and it's still up on their YouTube channel under the channel name Ember Lab.
Ember Labs, that's what it was. Yeah.
It's just two brothers, right? Because they kind of introed this at the beginning. They were like, "Oh, we're the brothers who made Ember from Ember Lab," which is that's just two of them who came up with that.
I might be wrong, and it could be a coincidence, but I think their website is down at the moment. Which could be a result.
So many people have tried to go on it.
Sure.
Yeah, I keep back to 500 error when I try to go and have a look. But
definitely. But yeah, so what was interesting about the actual game, Kenna, Bridge of Spirits? Okay, terrible fucking name for a game. Just put that one out there. But it very much looked like this game was heavily inspired by Zelda. I mean, you got a bow and arrow. You got like a pike instead of a sword. But for all intents and purposes, this was could have been a Zelda game. And I made the joke that, imagine if these guys, because they did the Majora's Mask, they came up with this concept of a Zelda game. They went to Nintendo like, nah, we'll take care of the Zelda games. Fuck you guys. And then they just turned around to Sony and said, we'll do a Zelda game for you, and we'll just call it Kenna.
Yeah, like copy my homework, but make it different. Or
exactly.
The meme is.
It looks really cool. Like, I think this could be a fucking super hit because this is the thing, right? Like, you always think to yourself, AAA studios, but even AAA studios, like, they fucking come from somewhere, right?
Yeah. The only thing I worried about because the game looks incredible, but it often, I think, with this sort of game, they're like one-trick ponies. Like, they look incredible, and then there's a couple of mechanics which work very well, but they get really good at doing those couple of mechanics, and then the rest of the game kind of falls in the wayside to some degree. Yeah. And you play it because you love the look and you like what it is. But I think you're right. Give them a few games down the line, and I think they'll be nailing it. I mean, it does look incredible. Like the art style and stuff, and the animation was bang on. What would you say it looked like? Almost like a puzzler platformer thing with those little black furry things.
It almost had like a Pikmin lemming style thing where you were groups of those bouncing black balls were like following you around.
But it almost seemed like
I got the impression you have to lead them home or something, and you've got to get them somewhere.
I got the impression you got to liberate them, because there was that one scene where you're in this area of the forest or whatever, where it's all dark and like fucking decrepit, whatever, and you beat the one guardian, and you do this shout, and the shout brings back all the foliage and shit, and then those little animals come out.
Fusrodar
it. It just looks really cool. It looks like a mixture almost between like Pixar and a Studio Leica.
Yeah.
that kind of style. Obviously, it's their own style. It's Ember Studios, but yeah, it's fucking cool.
I don't know why, but there's something about like games that look like that where the characters have heads that are slightly too big for their bodies. That reminds me of Star Fox Adventure. So that's
hey, and didn't he have a stick with a glowy thing?
He had a staff as well.
Well, there you go. Oh, guys, but we're in for a treat here. Okay.
Don't get the ire of the.
Dear.
I know what you're going to say, and we're going to get. To be fair, we haven't got enough viewers to get shit. I don't care.
I'm going to say it because it's true. All right, the next game was a game called Goodbye Volcano High, and it was like this hand-drawn, cartoony kind of thing. It seemed very narrative-driven, and it features dinosaur furries. It's the only way I can put it. Dinosaur furries, and it's like a lesbian tale.
Are we assuming that it's a lesbian story, or is it just that
I got heavy lesbian vibes coming from that?
Because I think you're assuming that
the voiceover was female.
No, but then it was.
And there was a rock band, and she was wearing jeans, and Chris is like lesbian, obviously.
Wait, guys, did she have short hair? No, I'm joking.
She had short scales.
I tell you what freaked me out was one of them looked like the thing out of Beetlejuice, where where Alec Baldwin stretches his face out,
like Spy vs Spy.
It was kind of freaky.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be edgy. I did think it was a lesbian story, which is fine. I mean, there's obviously nothing wrong with that. There's been some great lesbian stories.
Is that because it reminded you
of... I watched one last night.
Yeah.
Is this because it reminded you of a strange... What's it called? Life is Strange?
Kind of.
Because it had kind of high school vibes.
Yeah, kind of. So it's basically... so it's basically dinosaurs in the high school, and you kind of get the vibe that it's an extinction event, like the dinosaurs went extinct with like a meteorite hitting the earth and blah, blah, blah. Interestingly enough, it has more dislikes than likes on its trailer, which is sad. It shouldn't be that way because people are judging it on like a first appearance. Like maybe it's a good game. Like I
also know nothing about the gameplay or the game or any of that stuff. How could you judge it on just some like a cinematic trailer?
And I can totally imagine that like Life is Strange could have been in a similar boat. You know what I mean? Like show off a trailer of Life is Strange and like, oh my god, what is this? No dislike. I know I'm making fun of it because it just seems like lesbian dino furries, which is maybe like this generation's emos. I don't know, but but you know, that's not to say that it couldn't be a good game,
right? And like,
for sure.
You mentioned Life is Strange. Like, I know it's like you were saying earlier, Chris. It's cool to be edgy, but I very much liked Life is Strange.
It's a great game. Yeah.
I found it quite touching. Same with like other things of that nature, like Gone Home.
Yeah.
I have been the person before that plays those games and is touched by them, and so I always leave that door open for that to happen again, you know?
That's the secret. The people who dislike these sorts of trailers, they end up playing the game, really liking it and like getting the feels about it, but they can never admit it to any of their friends. So the next time they see a game like that, they go, dislike, I don't like this.
For me, it was just like the dino furry aspect of it. I was like, okay, all right, okay, cool.
It was something, that's for sure.
It was something. All right, cool. Then on to something else, which was Oddworld Soulstorm, which, hey, more Abe and his Oddworld companions. It looked pretty cool. It looked pretty brutal at times. Seems like there was some kind of a karma system as well.
Right, yeah. There was sort of stuff popping up, on the screen, wasn't it? During this, my wife went, "We're getting this."
Really?
Okay. Yeah, she used to play Abe's Odyssey back in the day, and it sort of popped up, and it's how good it looks now and how good it's going to look on the PlayStation 5. And she was like, I'm in for this.
I think stuff with like the Oddworld stuff is if you're into it, you're really fucking into it. And I remember playing the original, and I just remember thinking how dark that game actually fucking was. It was crazy.
The themes and stuff behind it are incredibly dark.
Like fucking slavery and like cannibalism and shit.
It was also an incredibly good-looking game in the time. The graphics and stuff were incredible, and some of the stuff they did with the game were I'd never seen before and were very, very good. So
I don't really have much to say about it, but I am interested in the next one, which
I am not playing this frigging game.
Ghostwire Tokyo.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, boys. Ghostwire Tokyo. I thought it looked fucking cool. So we got
scary as all hell.
I didn't really think so, dude.
I was like, nope. It was every trope from like a Japanese horror. They had like weird little girls with no faces, strange people moving like. I'm like, no, I'm out. They had like the Slender Man popping up with an umbrella. I was like, nope.
Yeah. So this was showed off. When was it? Was it E3 last year?
Yeah, Bethesda's press conference last year.
Bethesda's press conference, yeah.
By the girl who became an internet sensation afterwards.
Yeah, I
forget her name. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, one of those.
One of those. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that previous trailer, last year's E3, got me really kind of intrigued. I'm not usually into this kind of game, but it got me intrigued because it's like an interesting setting and an interesting kind of concept behind it, where it's like it's Tokyo, but there's a world, like a world on top of a world that's all like paranormal. And you can kind of see the paranormal lines crossing. What is interesting about this one, besides it looking really fucking cool, is that it's a first-person perspective, which I was not expecting whatsoever. Because these dudes did, was it Evil Within?
Yeah, so as Tango, which is the studio, Tango Gameworks, Tango something like that.
Yeah,
they made both Evil Within games, but then obviously the head of Tango is Shinji Mikami, who is famous for the Resident Evil games, especially the first one, and Resident Evil 4, Vanquish, and there was something else, God Hand, like that kind of stuff.
Ah, right, yeah. It looks fucking cool.
Do you know what it was like? I think it was just, for me, it was just a strange trailer because I had this idea. I think what we were left with last year allowed us to build an idea of that game in our head. And this trailer was so far removed from what I thought this game was going to look like. But that I was trying to adjust, but the trailer was also moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Yeah. So it was like 2 seconds of gameplay where he's doing some fucking chi shit, and then it cuts away to a cinematic of some creepy Ringu girl crawling around doing backflips, and then another. And I was like, I'm trying to drink it all in, but I came away with like, that's a game with a lot going on.
Yeah.
I almost don't know what to think.
I thought the same, but I thought in a good way. Like, whereas I thought the Destruction fucking superstar all-star dudes came away from that thinking if they're trying to do too much, that might be a bad thing. Whereas in this one, I'm like, actually, this is pretty cool. I think it kind of fits with what they're trying to be in this fucking weird fucking Ghostwire Tokyo thing. Yeah, I quite like that they did the little fucking hand symbols from fucking Naruto and shit.
There was a lot of like flames and different effects, and there's some cool imagery as well.
It was cool. I'm like I said, I'm not usually into those kinds of games, but this one has certainly piqued my interest. So Jonesy, you honestly looked like it would freak you out, really?
Yeah.
You know what that means, right?
That we're playing it on stream.
Yeah, we have to stream it.
It looked like the sort of, in the same way maybe that something like I'm trying to think of another game that would even be the similar sort of thing, but I can't think of one. But whereby, sure, by the end of the game you are super powered and you can do all this crazy stuff, and you can dispatch enemies with ease. I know that the first 10 hours of that game are going to be, here's another enemy type that you haven't met before that only makes these weird, horrible sounds and just comes at you from all different directions. And I'm like, I don't want to play 10 hours of that, freaking me out. And by the end, you're going to be absolutely fine. You'll be able to take them all out. But yeah, I don't want to get there. I'm out early on. But it looked great. Like it looked cool. I like the fact they've basically made the entirety of Tokyo. I think the guy said just before that, it has been until we get to the PlayStation 5 that we've had a system powerful enough to actually make the city or render it in the way that we wanted to in order to.
Do you know what it was? Game. It wasn't until SSDs that they could actually match the true speed of bullet trains. They just went too fast before.
But it looks great. Like, hey, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe when it comes out, it will be totally different. But it just looks like something I would try and sit and play and just go, nope.
You're signing your own death warrant here, Jonesy. Because
exactly.
The more you describe this, the more we are going to force you to play it.
Hell yeah! There's another game. There's another game later on that's going to be in the similar kind of.
No, it's not. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't get scared at films, but games, because I think I'm in control.
Oh, dude, yeah, it's so much more immersive. So much more immersive. Because when you're watching a film, you're just the passenger.
Yeah. When you have to open the door and you don't know what's behind it, but you have to open it, that's a very difficult thing.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I
So
guess the other note on Ghostwire Tokyo is that this and another Bethesda published game that we're going to talk about later are both, it seems at the moment, going to be console exclusive on PlayStation 5 at launch. To quote,
a big get.
Exactly. To quote the PlayStation blog, that around Ghostwire Tokyo at least, coming to consoles exclusively for PlayStation 5 in 2021, which sounds like console exclusivity for at least a year.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Which is and also a curiously big deal for Bethesda's relationship with Sony. I'm not sure. I've never ever seen this kind of thing between those two companies. I don't know.
Oh, dude, all you have to do is look at the fucking performance of Skyrim on their consoles and think to yourself,
right?
This is a partnership that probably shouldn't work. But there you go.
Yeah, they've changed their tune somewhat.
Yeah. All right, so moving on, just very quickly, Jett, The Far Shore, which looks like Genghis Khan Space Explorers, made by Super Brothers. So, from Sword and Sorcery fame.
Which I remember playing on an iPad back in 2011, 2012, and thinking this is cool. I don't know why, but this is interesting.
Yeah.
This game looked cool. I really like the aesthetic of it, and I thought
it looked okay, but I mean, it looked like a fucking mobile game. You're telling me we've got potentially, one of the most powerful consoles ever in existence, and we're playing a fucking mobile game on it? Get off.
But then I suppose because maybe it's more to the whole space exploration side of it. I mean, it's quite hard to tell at that point. But yeah, it did look
maybe. It's also a case of what are you doing on it? You're just flying a ship, maybe. I don't know.
Go there, maybe colonize there.
Work for No Man's Sky.
Yeah, but
eventually.
Eventually. But Super Brothers has a decent pedigree, so I'm sure they'll make
it's gonna have good music. Hopefully they bring back, is his name Jim Guthrie, the guy who did.
No, he was on Cappy.
But I think he also worked. I think he did the music for Sword and Sorcery, and then went to Cappy and did Below and stuff.
Okay, right.
Below, quality soundtrack.
Yeah, very good. The guys, the next one baffles me. All right, we've got another look at Godfall, which actually was, by all accounts, touted as the first next gen thing that we saw, which was this fucking Godfall trailer, whenever it was, way back when. And now, the more I see on it, the more I'm kind of I don't know what the fuck this game is.
It's because it looks. You were talking about Jett looking like a mobile game. This looks like a sodding mobile game. It says at the bottom of the screen they played it made on the dev kit for the PlayStation 5, and I'm like, I don't know what dev kit you got sent. It looks shit.
It didn't look bad.
Visually, it looked awful. Do you know what it looked like? I get forced Raid Shadow Legends adverts down constantly, and this looked like Raid Shadow Legends.
Yeah, maybe.
I was like,
you know what? It gave me vibes. It gives me vibes of is Too Human.
Yeah, okay, that's a worrying sign at this stage. But I could see that.
No, but I just don't get this game. Is it meant to be like a Souls-like game? But it's
I think it's someone doing the, how there's the Souls-like stuff, and then there was the Souls-like light stuff, like God of War, which was we're going to conceptually emulate that style of combat but make it more accessible. Yeah. I think this is doing that, and was what if we made a loot game around melee combat like that?
Yeah, it just looks kind of weird to me. I just don't understand it. Maybe it's just me being old and grumpy. I just don't know.
They need. Do you know what that game needs? It's ironic. I don't have an issue with the trailer per se, but we didn't benefit from another flashy sliced up gameplay trailer.
Tell me what the game is.
Yeah, we'd benefit from doing what. Admittedly, no one fucking watched it, but we'd benefit from doing what Outriders did last week, which is no, we're gonna just talk over the 20 minutes of gameplay and say this is what you're doing.
Yeah,
this is what this game is.
That, do you know what? And you say that as what's funny is I watched that from Outriders and I was like, this game looks wicked. I feel like I know a lot more about it and I would love to play that game. I see a little bit more of this of Godfall and I'm like, same, it looks shit again.
Yeah.
Right. Explain
maybe
some
I'm
stuff.
being mean, but
give us a hint of the story, the progression, the RPG mechanics, the loot system. Don't use the buzzwords. Show us what they mean in the game.
Yeah.
What you do is, Jamie, you spend real money to unlock gems, and then use the gems to buy new heroes, and then you use the new heroes to get new stuff.
Hey, dude, it's Gearbox published, so Randy Pitchford might be sticking his finger up its arse somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
Seeing what falls out. Hopefully, money.
Jesus. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Look, let's move on because we've got quite a lot to go through. Solar Ash, new game from, was it Heart Machine Games? Who did Hyperlight Drifter. It looks really cool, really kind of stylish. A little bit of gameplay, but doesn't really tell us much other than, remember Hyperlight Drifter and how much you liked it? Solar Ash, that's what you're going to be playing next.
Yeah. It's like a pedigree indie game, right? Look at what they did before and assume the next one's going to be cool.
Yeah, and to be fair, sure, it does look pretty cool. Seems cool. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've been saying that a lot, and I'm going to continue to be saying like, yeah, okay, it looks cool. Like I said, because they're showing us these trailers, but they're not actually showing us anything. It's more like this is like a fucking announcement trailer fiesta, you know?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's kind of what it was, yeah.
It's what it was. It is what it is. Moving on from that, though, Hitman 3, fellas.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we love ourselves some Hitman. And this just seems to be more of the thing. So, if I heard correctly, this is the final entry in a perceived trilogy of Hitman. Obviously, the reboot and Hitman 2 and now Hitman 3. It's pretty cool. Showed off Agent 47 kind of being hunted down in this really cool kind of like forest kind of scene.
Yeah, there is a story that links them all together. The guy who's doing the voiceover, I recognized his voice. The issue is that playing Hitman 1 and 2 happened over such a strung out like period of time that it's kind of hard to know. I'm not 100% aware what's going on. I remember a few of the twists, and there have been some, but it's a strange one. It's a strange one, but this is still very exciting. Like ultimately, I think this is just going to be more Hitman, and if they stick to what they did with Hitman 2, which is that the old levels come in, it would mean they touted this for January. So the idea that within a couple of months of the console coming out, we could have Hitman 3, which also serves as a hub for all the stages that came to 1 and 2. You end up having a pretty well-featured Hitman game with a bunch of different locations nice and early on in the console cycle. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I know why. It's just a shame that this isn't as big a deal as I hoped it would be, because I wonder what's next for IO. If they're acknowledging this is the end of their trilogy.
Well, what were you hoping?
I guess it was just that the working with Warner Brothers and putting Hitman 2 together as one big package that just would have made it stand out as much as it did back in the day. And I just don't think they've ever been able to quite regain or recapture the kind of the glory days of Hitman prior, like around Blood Money, certainly.
Right, yeah.
I think people like it and people think it's cool. I just don't know how many people. I think a lot of people got their fill and tagged out, and I feel like the latter days of Hitman 2 didn't have the draw. And I already this felt like a big game, technically speaking, that's not generating much discussion this evening within the context of this event. And
overshadowed by a lot of other things,
But then my hope for this is that Hitman goes out on a high, and that IO and Warner Brothers keep working together, and they can go back to an old franchise. Like I'd love to see a new Freedom Fighters or something like that. Fuck it, I'd play a third Kane Lynch at this rate, So
yeah, but
some of the locations, like the stuff in Dubai and the climbing up the outside of the towers and the clouds and stuff, looked incredible. So I mean, and Hitman for me is often it's a wicked game, and it plays really well, and it's very inventive. But some of the visuals and the locations and stuff are what some of the more stunning things. Like I always remember, was it Hitman 2 where you go to the F1 track?
Oh yeah, that's so cool.
That's so cool. That's just.
And
it's so much fun. Like I'm much more of a Hitman player where I dip in and out, and I play it more like episodically, and I don't really follow the story, but that's just they're just cool games. Like you can have a lot of fun playing them.
Yeah.
And this makes me like, I want to play those levels. I want to climb up the outside of the Burj Khalifa, like smash through a window in the clouds and execute people in ridiculous ways.
It got me thinking of what was it called? The Mission Impossible.
Ghost Protocol.
Oh yes.
Yeah, Ghost Protocol. Yeah. I was like, I'm down for that, because that's what Hitman's always done well. Is like you said, is their locations, and I'm down. Moving on from that, we went to something kind of interesting, right? Which was Astro's Playroom. So Astro was this VR title, and Playroom I think was bundled in with the VR headset as well to kind of show off, like, hey, this is what you can do in VR. and it seems that they've taken the two kind of ideas and mixed them together. But they didn't.
I wasn't really sure on this. I must admit, from what they showed, sorry, Joe, go on, Jamie.
I was going to say there's one piece of information that I have learned since we've gone live that might help fill in the blanks where you guys are struggling.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am learning that Astro's Playroom is going to be preloaded on every PlayStation 5. It's going to come with the console, and
that's why they had that little teaser as to what it would be like when the home button when you start up the PlayStation 5. Okay,
it is designed as a showcase title for the DualSense controller, and it will be preloaded.
So it's not VR.
It doesn't seem like it.
Because that's what they did before was Astro's Playroom was preloaded with the VR headset, right? Because you got that to showcase what the VR headset could do.
There was something that was preloaded, but there was also an outright platform game like Astro.
So I think the preloaded thing with PlayStation VR was just Playroom.
Yeah, and they used the little robots, and you like played with them. Yeah, you could do it with the camera as well. Like you could like wave to them and rub them and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, you could rub.
Is that cool thing?
Can we really not use the word rub anymore? Have we sunk that low?
What was the
dude? If I'm in the conversation, you're always going to rub me off the wrong way, right?
Nothing's safe with you.
My memory's horrendous. But what was the thing that they had? Was it told with the VR where you could hold the controller and as you tip the controller, you saw the little robots fall and they were like.
Yeah, that was Playroom. That's Playroom.
Yeah,
was that a VR specific thing?
No, because the Playroom was a concept before PlayStation VR. Like at the launch of the PlayStation 4, there was the Playroom stuff, and you did all the PlayStation camera stuff with it.
Yeah, if you log in, if you fire up your PlayStation now, you'll have Playroom there.
Yeah. Then they made like PlayStation VR came out, and there was like PlayStation VR Worlds, and one of the worlds was like an Astro World thing. When we actually briefly played it, when we were going to do the Resident Evil 7 video.
The platformer.
Yeah, and then they made a full-on game out of that, which was very well received.
Yeah. All right, but anyway, moving on from that, Little Devil Inside, which I was very surprised by this, actually.
Dude, this was charming in a lot of the right ways. This game really grew on me as the trailer went on.
Oh, yeah, same.
Me too, yeah.
It's weird. It seems like it's got like a hunter-esque... Monster Hunter-esque kind of vibe to it, where you're taking down these big animals, but also showed off like just hitting off some small dudes as well. I don't know, the art style.
Then there was also some stuff like in cities and in towns, because there was the thing where they had the flower shop and it said Schmeat.
And there was this old guy, and it was like the duality between this young guy on a monster hunter adventure and an old guy who, like Tracy said, is like walking around a town and going to shops and whatnot. And
he's in a hotel and in the bath at some point as well, isn't he? Yeah. It's like it's very very charming. It looked incredible.
It could be one of those like surprise indie hits that kind of spawns into something bigger, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I hope so. Though even the combat looked really cool.
Yeah, it looked nice. And of course, Jamie, it had the greatest cut of any gaming trailer in history, right?
I mean, it's really hard to put into words what this means to me. That like game developers are going out of their way to appeal to mine and yours and many other sensibilities with a unique brand of humor that is put aside, that is exclusive to only the most esteemed minds and esteemed people.
Hey, look, you don't mind a bit of scat, do you?
No, how's it going, buddy? Don't mind a bit of scat. Basically, what we're talking about is this trailer had an amazing poo joke, basically, where a character drops a bomb from a rope and the bomb falls, and then it hard cuts when the bomb's about to impact. Hard cuts to an old man sitting on a toilet, dropping some bombs of his own, and I fucking loved it. With
a little plop.
Yeah, just the perfect sound effect.
Maybe this is just me, but a couple other bits, not the hunty stuff so much, but I kind of got like a Wes Anderson feel.
Yeah,
in some weird ways.
There was a lot of like symmetry and things where like the frame was almost one by one and like, stuff like that. Yeah.
It's cool.
It's interesting because, like Chris said, it grew on you. Like for me too. At the beginning, I was like, maybe not, and then by the end, I was like, that looks so good. I can't wait to play.
Yeah, it's funny what like a charming art style and direction can do for a game. Like, if you take that art style away from it, maybe you'd be like, nah, not interested. Or you take some of the ideas and the charm and just be like, nah. Because the gameplay is the gameplay, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, anyway, so after that, fellas, just moving swiftly along, we had a look at NBA 2K21, which actually occurred to me is the only sports title that they showed off.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough. But did they really show it off? Because the dude, don't know what his name was, but he was a basketball player, and he's like, you're not ready for this. This is fucking amazing. And then it was just him on a basketball court with a not very well rendered face with sweat running down it, and then doing a slam dunk. Like, okay.
Yeah, I did think on that extreme close up that I was like,
I didn't think it looked good.
I get what we're going for, but faces aren't meant to be seen this up close yet, unless they're specifically designed for it. And that would like something about his paws didn't look right. The sweat looked okay, but
I don't know. It just didn't. I don't know. It kind of. It's like you said. If you're gonna show off like a close up of a face, make it fucking, fuckable.
Yeah. After the sort of like the frosty reception that NBA got last time, I feel like to come out with like, you're not ready for this is almost like, is that the angle?
No, but hold on, dude. If someone's coming out with a sweeping statement like, oh, watch this, you're not ready for this, and then you just show one dude practicing on a dimly lit basketball court, like that you're not selling the promise at all.
But you could do that. Like, do you know what I mean? If you had a game that was really well received, did fantastically well, and everyone was super hyped about, and you went, you're not ready for this, and you showed a tiny clip of like badly lit, blah, 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 then everyone would just be hyped to see more. But for this, it's like, oh, okay.
When it comes to NBA 2K as a franchise, the only thing I'm not ready for is them making a game that's not full of microtransactions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you know what? Then I might fucking buy it, 'cause I like sports career modes. Do you know what I don't like doing? When the currency that improves your player is paid for.
Yeah.
Get that out of my sight.
It would have been good if it's like, you're not ready for this, and they had the dude on the court, blah, 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 and he slam dunks, and as he slam dunks, goes to a hard cut, which just says no microtransactions. You'd be like, yeah, cool.
that would have been great.
That's selling. That's selling.
They tried to do that a few years ago. Do you remember the controversy where they undid the decision to make haircuts and clothes cost the same currency, and that was like a selling point. Like, haircuts don't cost money anymore. Look, guys, you can get your haircut in a fucking career mode. Shut up, you bum, you fucking idiots.
Right. So from one thing that didn't make any sense to me, at least, to another thing that didn't make sense to any of us, really. Which is
Jamie messaged. You know what? I had a brief heart attack because I'm pretty sure it was Jamie messaged at this point and said, "Way to finish the show." And I suddenly had a horrible feeling that I somehow was on a delay, and and this was the last.
That was what I was hoping for. That was what I was hoping.
And I went, "Huh?" And I looked at the time. I was like, "It's 10 minutes left. What's he talking about?"
Yeah. So we are, of course, talking about the developers behind Octodad's new game called Bugsnax.
Bugsnax,
which started off really weirdly with the fucking.
A little strawberry.
A strawberry bug. It's a strawberry on its upended, but it's a bug, and it just goes strawberry, strawberry, strawberry as it walks along. And then there's a Australian, was it a manatee or walrus or something?
Something like that.
And just eats it, and then his arm turns into the strawberry.
Gets a strawberry hand.
And then, oh, dude, it was just so fucking weird. And on the
I've got it right. Okay, have you seen Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2? Because if you've seen that film, it's just food with legs and eyes, and that's what this game is. Yeah. And apparently, as you eat the things, you turn into them.
Yeah,
and you can eat all different things, and you get all different like skins. You get like pineapple and pizza and strawberries, and you can change how you look by what you eat.
Do you know what it kind of reminded me of? And in a very weird way, it reminded me of that game that we played on stream, which was Watam.
Yeah,
right. That's and I guess the reason was because I was watching. I was like, "What the fuck is this? What is this?" It was funny on the chat. Jonesy, you and I at the same time were like, "Oh, am I on drugs? Did I take mushrooms? What is going on here?"
Yeah,
like it was a trip to say the least. It also has a high dislike ratio on PlayStation's
honestly.
YouTube channel.
I think the reason it has a high dislike ratio is, and it's somewhat unfair and harsh, it's a victim of circumstance, right? It's not that there's anything inherently wrong with this game or the trailer or that this game shouldn't exist. It was just in my opinion, it was the wrong placement. Right, it's one of those games that in this context, sandwiched between 2K21 and the game we're going to talk about next, like. No one benefited from what happened to Bugsnax today. Bugsnax doesn't come off any better, and PlayStation 5 doesn't look any better. It's not a game that shows off the power of the console, and so Sony are like, don't get anything from it. But also, Bugsnax is like, hang on, we're the Octodad devs making a weird, quirky little game, and we've got 2 million hardcore gamers tuning in to see the future of gaming, and they're watching our trailer. Like, who benefited? It just seemed like the wrong call.
But I don't know what kind of game Bugsnax is.
Fuck knows. I think Watham's not a bad shout. Like a weird, puzzly, adventure-y, colourful trip fest.
Yeah, I don't know. Nah. But anyway, moving swiftly along because fuck Bugsnax. An interesting remake, and that was Demon's Souls. I must remember that because I always thought it was Demon's Souls, and Jamie, you thought so as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys said in the WhatsApp, you were like, "Oh, remake of Demon's Souls." I was like, "I've never heard of it," so I'm glad you said that. I was like,
"It was
never heard of Demon's
Souls."
It was Dark Souls before Dark Souls, right?
It went Demon's Souls, then Dark Souls, then because Dark Souls was the one that everyone played, they were like, "Oh, Dark Souls 2." What?
But now there's a Demon's Souls, and it looked very fucking atmospheric.
Some big dragons. Big scary dragon things.
Yeah, big weird fucking things. It's probably going to be brutal as hell. It's a remake from the devs Bluepoint. Yeah, sure. I mean,
I just wish what Bluepoint did with Shadow of the Colossus was so impressive. Yeah. And what it looks like they're going to do here is also equally as impressive.
Oh, yeah.
Selfishly, I just wish it was a game that meant more to me. Because the rumours at the time were like, there was a heavy siphon filter rumour. There was at one point a Metal Gear Solid rumour. Like, almost anything would be more important to me, more meaningful to me than Demon's Souls. I know it's a very selfish way of looking at it. This is a really cool thing for a lot of people. Demon's Souls is probably the least played Souls game. The least played From Software game of the Souls-like era. So it's cool for a lot of people, but just not for me. And that, it is what it is.
And I think that's kind of emblematic for a lot of what this show was in doing a show that is a bit of everything for everyone. It also means that there's a lot that doesn't appeal to you.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
but stuff you can still appreciate.
That's why I've come out of it kind of thinking, oh, a bit of a mixed bag for me, because it was a mixed bag.
Yeah.
But then I suppose better it be a mixed bag for more people than be exactly what 10 people want.
Oh,
because then it only appeals to a few people. But which probably explains some of the high dislike ratios that some of the games have got and that some people are seeing.
Yeah. Okay, but moving on from Demon's Souls. I mean, Demon's Souls is great if you are into Dark Souls and the Souls-like genre, and you can actually go back and see where it came from. I'm in two minds on it because. Okay, I was never really into Dark Souls, but I really liked Sekiro, and you kind of think to yourself, well, I like this kind of game. Maybe I should go and try the other games and see how they differ and if they appeal to me. If I'm going to go back and play a game, I'm not going to go back to the very beginning of the Souls-like, right? Because surely that's going to be the worst one.
Then you get into the interesting question of to what extent are Bluepoint able to improve the formula and make it like a better fit for people who have had the benefit of Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, Bloodborne, without breaking what Demon's Souls is about. Because you're going to get in equal measure people who want Demon's Souls for the next generation of consoles and people who want a new Souls game.
Yeah.
And in reality, it's going to be neither.
Yeah.
But which do they lean more towards?
It's kind of a strange one. I think this may be a case of like, be careful what you wish for.
Right, yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah. But anyway, okay, so moving on. Deathloop, a game that we have seen before, which was, again, last year at Bethesda's E3 conference, but now we got to see some gameplay, because the trailer that they showed off last year was very interesting, very stylish, very intriguing, but we just didn't know much about it, and now we know a lot more.
I forgot all about this game until this, and until you guys talking about it, I completely forgot it even existed.
So it's good to see dude. As soon as Arcane came up, I was like, yeah, cool, Deathloop.
Yeah. They brought the same two dudes out as well who were on stage last year.
Yeah. So, Deathloop, developed by Arcane Leon. So these are the guys, behind Dishonored, Prey. I don't think Leon was Prey, but anyway. Arcane has a very good pedigree and some very interesting and very specifically stylish kinds of games. And none so is evident in Deathloop because it is one super stylish looking game.
Yes.
Very coherent in its art style and very different to a lot of games that are out there now. But what's interesting about this is it showed off some gameplay, and the gameplay was very Dishonored. It basically looked like a skinned Dishonored up to a point, but then it started getting a bit more involved with the gunplay, etc. The basic premise is you're stuck on an island, you're an assassin, and there are a bunch of assassins that you need to kill in order to escape the island, but there's another assassin that has the same deal, and she's after you. It's all very wishy-washy, all very kind of like time loopy, and it looks very cool. And again, it is a timed exclusive on PlayStation 5 for the consoles.
Am I right in saying, because I can't remember exactly like from last year what they were saying about it, but the impression I got from it was you play through the game to a certain point, then you die, then you play again, but you know where everyone's going to be, you know how everyone's going to come at you, so then you push through again. So it's almost like like a film like Groundhog Day where you know what's going to happen.
You learn the routine,
yeah. So I've read some stuff like if you want to get Arcane's own wording on it. It sounds like the game, as the name implies, when you die, you restart the loop. But it also sounds like time-wise, there's a cut-off for when the day just resets.
Right.
So this is actually all a direct quote. Each new loop in Deathloop is an opportunity to learn from the past and adapt. Finding clues and uncovering hints is key to taking out targets before the day resets. Discover relationships, learn schedules, and do whatever must be done to gain the necessary knowledge. So it almost might be an element of you might only be able to kill your target within a certain window, and the first loop you might learn what that window was but miss it, and in the second loop you maybe go the wrong way and find too many guards and die, so the third loop you go, it seems like that kind of thing.
In that kind of way, it sounds Hitman-esque in a way, right?
Yes,
where Hitman, these people, your targets, they have kind of a set routine. You've got to kind of observe them, figure out the routine, then figure out how you want to kill them using their set.
And this seems to go one step further though, right? Because the idea I get from this is that all the characters you see and everyone you can kill in order to get to your target or whatever, is that maybe if you don't affect it, then everyone's going to move in a certain way. So you can learn, guy walks there, he goes there, I duck through there, I open that, he drops this, which sounds really cool. It sounds like the opposite to a roguelike where everything changes every time. It's like everything is exactly the same and you can navigate your way through that world.
It's a cool concept.
Sounds so cool. It sounds
it also sounds fucking complicated though.
But imagine how powerful you feel.
Well, he moves, she does this.
Imagine how powerful you feel by the time you're restarting a loop that you know 95% of, and that first Dishonored was always the thing where I felt like I had the powers, but I didn't want to fuck up. Because if I fucked up, I'd give away my position. I'd have people on me. I had to kill them. Killing people made the world degrade and made the game hard later on. Now it's no, if you die, you learn from it and you do something different next time. And that sounds rewarding. Can I point out another element that I've again learned since we started recording? Yeah. So I think, as we mentioned earlier, you're an assassin who is trying to kill 8 targets. Yeah. And the complicated element is that there's a woman called Juliana who is basically another assassin who's trying to kill you. There's an optional multiplayer element. So if you want, you can opt in to have Juliana played by another person, real player.
I did wonder that as they were talking about it, because they talked about multiplayer and single player.
Yeah, and at the end of the trailer, they showed gameplay of coming from Juliana's viewpoint, which is very cool. It's almost like an interesting take on not really asynchronous gameplay, but in a way, right, where you are playing the mission and the story, and then the multiplayer element of it is you bring someone in to fuck up your game.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting as well because that other player is the only unknown quantity, right? Because you can learn all the routines and the schedules, but if there's another player playing Juliana, then you don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah. That's the RNG in speedrunning terms. is a person.
Yeah, I think it looks really cool. But yeah, I worry that it's maybe just going to be a little bit too involved and too complicated for me. I'm a simple man with simple needs.
Fair enough. We'll see.
Moving on to the next one, fellas. This is kind of a big one for me. in a way that I never would have thought. Okay, it's Resident Evil 8. Oh, sorry, it's Village Resident Evil, but it's actually VIII Resident Evil 8 Village, blah blah blah, whatever. Yes, it's the next Resi game, the next main title Resident Evil game. And yes, there are all the rumors were true that we were kind of reporting on, which it's set in a European village. It features witches and werewolves. It looks super moody and it looks fucking scary. And you see, Jonesy, this trailer made me think to myself, I'm gonna cack my pants.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I completely agree. Absolutely.
A very good advertisement for a game I don't want to play.
And yet, what's going to happen?
Nope. I'm busy. I can't make it.
Shit, yeah. Hey, get on that stretch goal, boys. Support the Patreon and let's make Jamie play the game.
Yeah.
It looked really cool. It looked really atmospheric. A couple of interesting things. So it's back to that first person perspective, which we got in Resident Evil 7. And I think you're playing as the same character, Ethan. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. But interestingly enough, there was a character at the end of the trailer called Chris, who we assume is Chris Redfield. And he just kind of seems like he is antagonist to your protagonist.
Yeah.
So we don't know how that's going to kind of plan out, or if it is actually Chris Redfield or whatever it may be. But yeah, it looks fucking cool. And it's so the reason why I say it surprises me is because I've always kind of like enjoyed Resident Evil games, but I've never been like crazy into them. But then ever since we did the series on ATG on Resident Evil 7, I just kind of I'm all aboard the Resi train now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
fair enough.
Okay. So some other bullet points I'm seeing on Twitter. They've confirmed it's based on the newest version of the RE engine, which is always nice to hear.
Amazing
that's
engine.
A beautiful engine. A quote. A little bit more action-oriented, which ties into what people were maybe saying about this starting off as a spin-off game inspired perhaps more by Resident Evil 4 and stuff like that than Resident Evil 7, and it was kind of transitioned into being a sequel later on down the line. No load times, and a new
so no door slowly opening.
It doesn't seem like it, dude. It looks like it's going to be one big seamless village.
They missed a trick on that one.
Yeah, I know.
Cool
Sucks.
setting though.
Yeah, like I think the whole bit having the willingness to say on the fly, "Hey, this started as a side project and now it's a numbered sequel."
Yes, Jamie.
It was going to happen at some point.
Your face when you did it as well is so amazing.
Oh no, it was. I'm so sorry to the folks. I don't know what that sounded or looked like, but.
Yeah, I sneezed earlier, so don't worry about it.
It's hay fever season, isn't it?
It's a peek into your O face. It's all right. It's good.
I've been no, it's not. That's 3 times worse, trust me, and 4 times as loud. My email's in the about section of the chat.
Yeah, DMs are open.
I can't even remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, I think the willingness to take things that started off as side projects and make them new numbered entries is actually what gives them the ability to create sequels that are surprisingly different to what came before, like Resident Evil 4 was at the time. So yeah, it's cool.
I think it's a good sign, right? When your side project is strong enough in concept, for the core team to say, you know what, this actually looks like a numbered entry. I think that's cool.
It's also good that the team could recognize that is something they should pursue. Like they weren't so wedded to go in one direction. They didn't see something potentially really good and then kind of say, but that's not what we're doing. We're going in this direction. Like that's, and hey, Resident Evil, one of the best games for reinventing themselves, I think.
Yeah, they are the Madonna of the horror genre.
For sure. Yeah. I like the sound of going more action oriented though. That sounds good to me.
I think it's a balance though, right? Like, because you could end up with the Resident Evil 4, or you could end up with the Resident Evil 5. So or 6, even, heaven forbid.
It's true.
They do have to be careful, but at the same time, I sometimes with 7, I kind of had a feel of like Alien Isolation, in like this game's going to play itself and you just have to do what you're supposed to do, otherwise we're going to fucking kill you in horrible ways. And I was like, I can't take the stress.
I hope that 4 becomes the point of reference, because that was very much an action-oriented take on the series, yet still provided some incredibly scary villages.
Right.
Especially at the beginning when it was all kind of rural and you hadn't got into the weird medieval shit yet.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that was a really nice, big, marquee moment for the series. Maybe a lesser one was the next one, Pragmata. So this was kind of weird to me. I had so many kind of thoughts on this. Yeah. So it had this kind of like astronaut-looking dude who kind of looked like, it looked like a mix of Ludens from Kojima Productions. And in fact, I thought like, oh shit, is this like a tease of like the next Kojima game? Like it could have been, right?
Oh, because you know how they did the title card for the game midway through the trailer. I thought that's because they were going to do bit of trailer, title card for the game, bit of trailer, like a Kojima Productions game or something like that.
Did you also think it was going to be like a Kojima
There was a point at time which I thought, is the reveal going to be that this is a Kojima Productions game? But alas, no.
But it wasn't. But then also like, so yeah, it looked like Ludens, but it was also mixed with like Anthem. And then at that stage, I was like, hold on, this isn't going to be like the Anthem reboot, is it?
Oh, could you imagine? I had a weird one because I was like typing and then I looked up and half watched it, and then when he does the holographic thing when it first pops up in front of him, I thought it was like some weird Division thing.
It was Division-esque,
and then you see the girl and the cat with the see-through holographic cat, and I was like, "What is this?"
Well, when I saw the girl, I was like, "Okay, this isn't Kojima. This is fucking. This is some weird shit." But then I saw the cat, and I was like, "Well, that's kind of Kojima-esque, I guess."
Right. And it looks like it's basically an astronaut. You have to almost explain this one because you don't know anything about the game.
I'm not doing a very good job.
It's an astronaut that's kind of like walking down through Times Square in a big, like Chris was saying, Anthem Luden style spacesuit.
Yeah, and the New York area is like all dilapidated and broken.
Yeah, exactly,
and shit.
Like Vanilla Sky. Comes across a little girl and this weird cyber cat that's like almost like a exoskeleton style thing that's projecting the image of a cat around it that's kind of translucent. Looked kind of cool. Then all of a sudden, what looked like a big satellite UFO style thing crashes through the ceiling of the sky, and like the sky of New York like shatters.
Yeah, then so it's almost like you're in the Truman Show in that giant dome.
Yes,
basically, and they start getting sucked towards it. Then he unlocks this thing from his backpack, and it's basically a big deployable net that creates a bubble around them, and they bounce off it.
But you see, even that was kind of Kojima-esque to me.
It was, yeah.
So totally. The whole thing was mental.
But so maybe it is fucking Kojima's next thing, because the dude loves fucking making bullshit studios.
It's Capcom.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, there was a Capcom card.
It's called Pragmata, right? Did we say it's called? It's
Pragmata.
Called Pragmata. And then at the end, you were on the moon.
Like, they land on the moon and they look back at the astronaut and the girl look back to Earth and say something like, "It's freedom" or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because she's like, "What is that?" And then the camera pans up and it's the Earth. But what was interesting is when she said, "What is that?" I was fully expecting it to like pan up and Ludens would be there with the fucking digital whale, and I'd be like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a weird one, man.
But also, you know what? You're right. The Capcom thing kind of cements it. But if the Capcom thing wasn't there, I could 100% believe it would be a Kojima thing, and it was just his way of like Moby Dick Studios and that kind of thing.
Yeah. But also high placement, like penultimate game, a big show.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. We'll see. It was 2022 as well.
It was a pretty cool trailer. Like, I don't know. Look, it's good that Capcom has got something else coming out, right?
True.
Like a new IP. Like, yeah, sure. Let's, Capcom's got some great games. Let's see what they can do with it. All right, but yeah, then that was padding for the
big finish.
The big finish. All right, and I'm going to leave it to you guys because I didn't play the first one. So go ahead, fellas. Go ahead.
Jonesy, you shoot. I feel
like
this
is the. I mean, it was your game of the year.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we knew this was happening. We pretty much knew this was going to happen. I think we were already talking about it before.
A confirmed rumor, yeah.
The show. Confirmed rumor. What I'm going to call it Horizon Zero Dawn 2, or Horizon 2, but it's not. It's just called Horizon Forbidden West. So we heard Aloy talking, and she was. We saw some fantastic scenery, some pretty impressive underwater scenes as well, which look very cool. And I think the whole setup for the premise of this is that she's gone to a new place, and it's like lush, and there are animals and creatures, like real animals and creatures, and out of the old like robotic wasteland, you've got new things that have risen up, and now the world's lovely again. But then, in true Horizon fashion, there's some horrible corruption which starts to kill off a few things in the trailer, and Aloy realizes she needs to go and beat the crap out of the I don't even know the guy's name, the main dude from Horizon.
Lance Reddick.
Yeah.
Oh, what's his name?
I don't know. I can never remember his name. The actor's name I can never remember. Silence, right. But this time, dudes, it's not just dinosaurs. This time they've got some mammals and some amphibians as well.
Life is coming back, yeah.
Some elephants and some giant warthog robots.
So it's almost like they're going through because they're very much dinosaur inspired, right? So it's almost like they've gone to the next period of dinos.
Right.
I guess so, yeah. Well, they're not dinosaurs. They were like elephants and stuff.
Yeah, like that was the thing about Horizon Zero Dawn, is that like we always looked at a lot of the pre-release stuff and thought, oh, it's robot dinosaurs, but you realise when you play the game, they're actually just robot animals.
Right. Yeah.
Because the conceit was, we should get into spoiler territory, but the conceit was, and I guess skip the next minute if you really haven't played that game yet, but Jonesy, correct me if I'm wrong, the idea was that Zero Dawn was the project to like an AI-controlled project to essentially restart planet Earth after the apocalypse. And the idea was that planet Earth needed animals to survive and thrive, so we created robot animals to serve the purpose that real animals served in the progression of Mother Nature or whatever.
Yeah, it's my understanding. Yeah, and then later down the line they get corrupted, and because the AI, that's where it turns evil.
Yeah, the AI that controls the behavior of some of the animals is corrupted, and that's what fucks everything up.
Yeah, so this is like I think I get the impression this is like a new corruption though. This isn't the same. It's the same dude, the same human is causing all the shit again, but it's a different corruption. It seems like, or maybe not. Maybe it's the same corruption.
Because the ending of it's hard without spoilers, but like
I just fucking go for it, dude. I mean, the game's like 3 years old now.
Yeah, I think maybe even 4. The ending is like you essentially stop the corruption and the AI that's gone rogue. But rather than banishing it completely, it's captured by Silence, who's kind of like your...
So that's Lance Reddick.
Buddy. That's Lance Reddick, yeah. And the implication is that like this AI could still be a threat, and you don't really know what Silence wants to do with it. Because Silence isn't a bad guy in Horizon Zero Dawn. The AI
He's not a bad guy, but he's an unknown quantity, isn't he? He's not quite sure.
You don't know what purpose his serves and what he wants with it. And obviously we see him in this, and it looks like there's some kind of corruption that they're like trying to do stuff with, but it looks like they are creating a new threat in this form of this tribe that appear to be doing shit of their own.
Was that the thing with the kind of mammoth looking?
Yeah, like they're all climbing on, and they look like they dress differently. So it's almost like it's going into a more like tribal. These were also humans who lived somewhere else, and now because that's something they could also play on, right?
Yeah. Well, didn't they confirm at the end basically that Aloy is now moved from where the setting of the first game into the West, into the Americas.
Well, it's called Forbidden West, so yeah.
Yeah, so she's moved out. Then you even get like the Golden Gate Bridge she walks past at one point, and it's all covered in vegetation and stuff, which is a very cool like look. I think Horizon was a fantastic looking game, and it played incredible. Well, I thought it played incredibly well. It had a cool, engaging story, and to be fair, this just looks like more of the same. It looks like the sequel you want from that. If you want different variations of enemies, you want to take out some more types of robots, you want to use the PlayStation 5's capabilities to its max.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you guys. It's like, because you were both pretty hot on it, and
yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, and I was just wondering, like, does this tick the boxes that you wanted from a sequel?
For me, yeah, like from the brief bit we've seen.
Yeah, sure. I mean, granted,
from what I know, I just wish Aloy would pick up a goddamn gun. Like she's still rocking that bow. Like, for God's sake, get yourself an assault rifle.
Never have I been more impressed with how consistently fun I found combat with essentially one weapon.
Yeah.
I'd say that combat never got boring for me. And Horizon's one of those sequels where you ask about, does it tick all the boxes? I don't think I needed many boxes ticked. I needed like a reason to continue exploring that world and the concepts it played with, which it has inherently, a reason to go back to explore that combat and see if and what changes they've made, and like a new landmass, potentially new creatures, new villainous presences. Like it ticks all the boxes of like a standard open world sequel. And I don't think Horizon needs much more from that because it's working from a very strong base.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's good.
The one question I think I'd have around a sequel for that is there's a very strong like sub-narrative in the first game of finding out who you are, where you come from, how you came to be. And I guess the issue they may have with the sequel is you've kind of pushed that as far as you can. Yeah. So what is the new subplot to the game going to be? But that's something I'm just keen to find out about. Like, I don't think they can. It's not something that they need to worry about really, as long as they don't do anything stupid. I don't see why they would.
Well, yeah, I mean, they mentioned that it was going to be. Did they say a trilogy or more of games?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't actually even hear.
I think that was like there was a leak before this that confirmed the existence of a second one that implied that they set out to create a trilogy.
Yeah, I think it was.
That was the same leak that said that they were toying with like multiplayer stuff and co-op stuff, which there didn't seem to be any hint of today.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I mean, so that's after that they showed off what the main thing, I guess, that everyone stupidly, I guess, was waiting for, because at the end of the day, they just wanted to see what the hardware looked like. But seeing what the hardware looked like doesn't actually mean anything, right? Like it's not gonna stop people from buying it. It's just more a question of curiosity. But,
agreed,
for sure.
But boys.
Okay, so what do you guys think? Because our first reactions, I think Chris had the strongest reaction of the three of us. I thought it looked a little odd, like it looked a bit like a super fancy.
Okay, hold on. Can I set the scene? All right, the screen's black. You get the blue lights, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, yeah. And it zooms out, and the screen brightens up, and then it's like this futuristic dildo-looking console.
What? I think that's a little bit of a mischaracterization. So if anyone hasn't seen it, it's white for one, which we said like it probably would be. Yeah, it's majority white, like the controller. Yeah.
It's a sandwich.
So two white sides, in its vertical form anyway. So it's two white sides with a vertical central section, which is black with a blue light in the middle.
Reverse Oreo.
Sorry?
Reverse Oreo.
Oreo. It has ears, which I thought was weird. Like it almost looks like little bunny ears on the top, like from the angles they were showing it at.
Like flaps.
Well, yeah, it's almost like if you imagine what Jonesy's saying, like a thick black bit and then two thinner white sides. It's almost like rather than just being straight, like the edges here have been turned away from each other and the edges here have been turned into each other. So when you look at the console straight on, there are no flat edges.
So it's almost like you take a piece of A4 paper and you bend it slightly.
Yeah, like twist your left hand away from you and your right hand towards you. Yeah.
But then one interesting thing, of course, is the fact that there are two versions that they've just revealed. So one is the discless version and one is the disc version. I don't know if you guys thought the same thing, but I thought the form factor looked like it had been designed with the digital version in mind and had the addition of a disc version because it's kind of weird. It was 100%. On the side, it pokes out. It looks kind of ugly.
Well, so the thing that I didn't like about the console is it's asymmetrical to a point of a little bit of absurdity. But they fixed that. That's why I think you're right, because that's fixed in the digital version, because the digital version is completely symmetrical. I still don't understand why it needs to have these like little fucking flaps or fins or whatever you want to call them, right? Like
fins is a good word. They kind of look like little fins. Like fins.
Like, look, I get they're trying to go all like futuristic. I think that maybe because like, look, at the end of the day, this thing is sitting underneath your TV, right? And it just looks fucking weird. Like,
I'm not going to say. I'm going to say I like the discless version.
I like the discless version as well. I think if they didn't reveal the discless version, I'd be like, this is going in the cupboard.
I think we also saw a really brief image of it lying down horizontal, because that's one thing I always want to know is whether it can stand up vertically and horizontal, which is often a thing they do.
Yeah.
But they showed it in its vertical form quite a few times, and it was only in a very brief part of the video they showed it laying down.
If you pull up the official image that they've released of it being horizontal, you can see that neither side is flat. So you cannot lay this thing flat on a surface. So the stand that comes with it can support it either vertical or horizontal. So in the official images of it horizontal, it's still horizontal, but it's still levitated slightly by that little circular stand.
Oh, weird.
So it doesn't look like it's built to go flat on anything unless, well, even vertically without a stand.
That's really bizarre.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Perhaps an example of... you don't want to say style of a substance, but if it genuinely can't work without a stand, like you can't, I don't know. I will say
so
though,
maybe
that,
the stand's integrated then. If the stand maybe the stand doesn't.
No,
come
because
off.
it can be on the side or it can be.
It's got to be able to
either
come
one.
off, right?
It has to be able to come off.
Oh, so it's not a stand that rotates.
It's a small circular stand, and you can see.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If you pull up the image of it on its side, you can see.
I'm gonna have a look.
Yeah, send us a link, Jamie.
I'll see if I can find one for you.
Is it just on PlayStation.com?
Going around. I was finding most of these links on Twitter.
Okay.
Now this is some fucking grade A podcasting right here.
Hey,
we're gonna find some pictures.
If you've made it this far, fucking hell.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, we should.
Do you know? Okay, but do you know what? Because I've typed in PlayStation 5 reveal, and I'm looking up images on Google Images. It looks a lot better than a lot of the things that people thought it might look like. Like the U-shaped thing.
Yeah, that
and a half.
Yeah, that V-shaped thing, whatever it was, looks absolute dog shit.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, because I didn't really elaborate on my actual opinions on it. I completely agree with you guys about what you were saying about. It's a shame that the digital version looks so much more cohesive and natural logic as the symmetry than the version that has a disk drive, because that disk drive almost looks like a bump, but at the same time I think there is an element of cohesion in terms of how it matches up with the controller, which I think by now most of us have had a chance to get used to and appreciate in its own way.
And to be fair, I like the look of the controller, so I'm sure
also,
I'm sure the design will grow on me, but
I just like it being something different. I think
me too.
I can get that,
like the Xbox Series X is cool. There's no question, but it's also like it's a fridge. You know, it's a big rectangular block. It's a box. Yeah. The PS5 is in both the controller and the console itself is going for something different, and I kind of respect that. And like you said earlier, Chris, at the end of the day, it's just going to sit under my TV.
Yeah,
like
you know what it looks like. You know what it looks like. It looks like a pistachio nut, like a futuristic pistachio nut. Do you know what I mean? Like
pistachio.
Yeah, you know what it's like the shell of and then the nuts peeking out at the shell. So it's like the two white bits are the shell, and the black bit is the actual pistachio nut itself.
Okay, boys,
I'm going to share this meme with you.
Oh, Jonesy's sharing a meme. I'm sharing an actual picture.
Okay.
So if you see the picture I just shared with you, for the folks at home, it's just
a
picture of the PlayStation 5 on its side. You can see that because of the shape, the disk drive side of it is designed to be on the bottom, which means inherently it's not flat. So you can see that tiny circular stand is still under there. It's also worth noting that on the disk drive version there are two buttons, a power button and a jet button. There's a USB-C port and a USB 3 port.
Yeah.
And now
it looks much nicer without the.
What's that meme called? Like
I can't. I don't know. I don't know.
Distracted boyfriend or something.
Distracted boyfriend meme.
But
and
he's looking over his shoulder.
Do you guys get what I'm saying about like the pistachio or like a chocolate bar where you've like taken off the.
Not really.
Not really. No, I'm not really getting the pistachio or the chocolate bar. I'd love to, but
anyway.
What's weird is like I think Jamie was saying like so if you have the discless version, it looks so much nicer in vertical and in horizontal. It just looks better.
Like the discless version, like vertical front on when it's symmetrical. That's a nice piece of kit. Do you know what it reminds me of? Do you remember like BMW concept cars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That kind of shit.
Yeah. Okay, so question for you boys.
Yeah.
Which version? Is Jonesy going to be the disc boy again?
The problem is because it's backwards compatible in a lot of respects, right? Then I can't even contemplate getting the digital version because I own so many games on disc for PlayStation 4. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to go sensible and I'm going to have to get the disc version. Otherwise, I'm going to have a lot of games that are unplayable for backwards compatibility. Unfortunately.
I've got like 50, 60 like physical PS4 games down there. I'm still going to get my mum every year buying me PS5 games for Christmas. We're still going to get the odd company that gives us those weird red discs in little CD cases. I just don't want a situation where I'm counted out of something on the account of the fact that it's annoying because it's aesthetically so much better and it's probably going to be cheaper. But like Jonesy, I have to make the sensible decision here.
Well, I will tell you that I am 100% going for the digital version.
Yeah, it makes so much sense for you, dude. Yeah. That's perfect. Like, and it will look so much better in your living room.
Oh yeah,
which I'm sure the wife will appreciate.
It's still going to go in the cupboard because I still think it looks kind of ugly. But
isn't your PS4 in the cupboard?
No, PS4 is literally underneath my.
Oh, television. That's right. It's just under. It just fits, doesn't it?
Yeah, it just fits.
I'm going to get like a little thing that hangs on the side of the PlayStation 4 so that you can't see the bump of the disc, like where that is. Yeah. It like hides it.
Well, I'm looking at
like
TV.
like a PlayStation burqa.
No, what? No, like some vines or something. So it looks like you've got some sort of like it's got some sort of weird Horizon. Was it Forbidden West design where it's like hanging down on it, like it's got vegetation growing on it. I'm like, that's not to hide the disc, honestly.
But you see, you've got me really excited of the potential of what a Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales special edition would look like, because I think that could look actually pretty sick, because it would go with the futuristic aesthetic of it. Yeah, sorry, Jamie, what were you going to say?
I think I need to get a new TV unit because at the moment I've got one with four compartments. And all of them are full. I've got a Nintendo Switch where the dock is just on the ground because there's no room for it. And the Xbox Series X is I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do.
They're all big and lumpy, aren't they? Or they're not going to fit.
Yeah, like genuinely, if you want to have like 4 consoles, or I'm going to try and have 5 consoles under my TV this Christmas, like, what the fuck are we meant to do? I don't know. I'll figure something out, but I'm not looking forward to having that problem. It sounds expensive either way.
Is it an IKEA?
No, this is an Argos job.
Oh, it's an Argos job.
I didn't have money when I bought this.
If it was an IKEA one, what you could do is just buy like, sometimes the IKEA would have like a thinner version, and you could just put it on top.
Like so you could like add on.
Yeah, like stack it. Modular. Like actually, this is what this is. That's a module, and that's a module.
Yeah.
Chris was one of those people who waited 5 hours to get into IKEA when it opened the other
Jesus
day.
Christ, no way. That's just absolute madness. Why would you do that?
People are bonkers.
How much do you want to buy flat pack furniture?
Like, honestly, why don't you
Could
just
you order online still, though? I didn't get it.
No, but I think there's a lot of queuing online. Like, slots are taken up and whatever.
Who cares?
But, like, how desperate are you for fucking IKEA to wait in a queue with, like, a bunch of other fucking COVID idiots? Like, for about fucking 5 hours. Like, that's madness.
I know I was the one who derailed it. I just wanted to bring up the final 3 things that I think you listed, Chris, because I think they're important things to say that didn't get brought up in the PlayStation event. There was no price. They haven't told us how much these 2 units are going to cost. They also showed off some other kit. They showed off the docking station for the controllers. They showed off the 3D audio headset.
Yeah. Which could be cool.
Which could be cool. Yeah. They showed off the HD camera as well.
Yeah.
Which is like, why have that HD camera? Like, I know you need it for PSVR, but beyond that, why have it?
Well, I wonder if it's to do because you have to use the PlayStation camera if you want to stream as well.
Yeah, I can give you a simpler one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A simpler reason, I mean.
Yeah.
There's no real... Prior to PSVR, there was no real reason to own a PlayStation camera on PS4. Do you know how many people bought that thing? Fucking millions.
I guess so, yeah.
Fair enough.
So it's free money, dude. Like, the camera,
well.
all they needed to do was literally...
Hey. It's free real estate.
Yep. I'm hoping that was picked up on your end, because on Discord that was silent. But luckily, I knew what you were saying. But you're right.
The other thing they didn't. We know it's coming out November, we think, but there was no specific
holiday
date.
2020 is the tag,
and no God of War.
Yeah, I did make a bold prediction saying that there'd be a God of War teaser at the end, and okay, so they finished Horizon Forbidden West. So I keep on wanting to say Horizon Zero Dawn 2, but yeah, they finished that, and then they had like a montage, and I was like, oh man, this montage is going to end with just like a boy or something, and just be like, oh shit.
If it went completely dark and it went boy,
can you imagine if it was like completely dark and it's just boy, like we got to go now or some shit like that? He's like, fucking hell.
Just boy. If he just said boy, I'd be there.
Yeah.
Boy.
I know you're
Won
not
the show.
I know you're not meant to like blow your load all at once, but I'm amazed at how many companies haven't caught on to the effectiveness of the one more thing trick.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Like if you surprise people when they think it's over, that's going to be the last thing on their mind. If you leave people wondering if there's one more thing and there isn't, then it's a psychology thing. It's nonsense, but it works.
It's almost like what Marvel has done with post-credit sequences, right? You go to a movie and you almost always think to yourself, I wonder if there's anything after the credits.
Yeah.
It is a missed opportunity for sure.
All they had to do was call up Corey and be like, "Yo, are you gonna make a God of War 2?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I'm making it at the moment." They're like, "Can you just do a boy and we'll just put it?"
Here's the question though, based on what happened to PlayStation halfway through this generation, where they had to show you the same games over and over again. If you went to Corey and said, "When's God of War 2?" and he said 2023, would you have shown it today?
No. Definitely
not. That'd be madness, wouldn't it? It's far too early. Yeah, you're right. Even for a boy, it's far too early.
I really hope that PlayStation don't get into the same kind of fucking thing that they did with fucking showing off the same fucking things over and over again. It's like, you know what? It's worth it because those were fucking rock solid quality games, but there's got to be a better way.
It's worse with the delays as well, because the delays obviously exacerbate because they say it's only 2 years away, it's fine, and then it's not 2 years, it's 3 years or however.
Good point.
Speaking of which, there's one thing that I haven't seen yet but that I would kind of like to see, which is someone making a list, going through all the release dates and confirming what actually is, or the starting to compile at least, the launch lineup for the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because that's the thing, right? Like, so I said, look, okay, so they did a good job in saying like, oh, the fucking Spider-Man, it's a launch title, right?
Yeah.
That would be enough to make me buy the console. But once I've finished that game, what have I got? What have I?
All the PlayStation 4 games that.
Yeah, but if I've gone digital.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, right. Yeah.
You'd want to think that your account carries over.
For like, what do you mean? Which like your
with your
account?
Yeah, with your game with your games and everything.
You've got to imagine it all carries over, and all your digitally owned games are still with you.
Yeah, like, but the point is, if I've got those digital games, I've probably played them. But like, so once I finish Miles Morales, what am I? Yeah, what's next? What's next on the horizon, and how long would I need to wait in order to get something that I want to play? Like, I'm sorry,
but that's not an issue, right? That's the weird thing about backwards compatibility, is because if games are still being released on PlayStation 4 like early next year, then the game you're waiting for on PlayStation 5 is a PlayStation 4 title, which makes no difference to you because you can just play it. So I suppose maybe that's what they're relying on. Is it doesn't, even if they've got a couple of launch titles,
maybe
it doesn't matter in that sense.
The other thing that we don't know, as an example, is Cyberpunk on PS5. What does that look like? When does that come out? Stuff like that. So
please be soon, please.
Yeah, it's exciting though. It's exciting. It's as we said at the top of this, what's turning out to be a very long podcast. It's good. It's all of us, right? It's good to be. It feels good to be excited about games in this way again, because with COVID and all the shit happening with E3, and it was this kind of like drip feed of information of like, oh, here's one game, and like 2 weeks later, oh, here's another trailer. It's good to have something like all nice, big, compressed that you can, it almost like it's excitement upon excitement upon excitement, and it builds up for you rather than like delayed gratification.
Yeah, and I think there will be a few more. I think this is going to be one of the biggest all-in-one blowouts we'll see all summer. But I think
I reckon Xbox will be bigger. Like I'm a Microsoft fan. I'm not necessarily an Xbox fan, but I do think that theirs will be bigger.
It could. That would be awesome. I'm trying to like rein in expectations where possible. But I still think like it's possible that. But basically, what I was going to say was going to see a lot of stuff happening still from now until the end of summer, and even like in the next week, like IGN's thing is still going on. EA Play is on the 18th, so that's a week today. In fact,
isn't the PC show this weekend? I think
PC gaming show is on the 13th. So yes, I think that's Saturday. There's some other some standalone game announcements, and then obviously going into July, like we said, there's Xbox coming back. PlayStation are going to do another thing probably in August, and so on and so forth. Like stuff that'll Ubisoft are in July.
Yeah, you think that August is definitely going to be like, this is the release date, this is the price, these are the like here are all the specs run down. Here's everything, because even still we're getting things like, oh, you know, some of the things of what PlayStation can do haven't been released yet. And yeah, sure.
Like we need to remember that what we saw today on the hardware side of things, as cool as it was what we saw from Xbox 7 months ago.
Yeah,
as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah.
They are still. Neither company wants to go first for release date or price. Neither company wants to go first. And I'd imagine internally there probably is no concrete answer, because if you don't decide, then nothing can leak. So they're probably both still having the same conversation where they're like, no, we don't know what it's going to cost because we don't know what that's going to cost. We don't know when we're going to come out.
Bullshit where they know exactly when they're going, hey, Bob, what are we going to do? I don't know, man. We're just going to decide in a couple of months.
And they just scribble it on a piece of paper and it just says like, $500 question mark?
It's where they slide it over to someone and they never say it out loud. They're just like, you take this and then eat it.
Like there was a controversy this week where Jeff Grubb, the journalist who's been doing his own calendar based on what he knows, he had an Xbox event scheduled for this month that he basically moved out of this month and replaced in August. And loads of people reported on it saying like, oh, the Xbox event has been delayed, but then it never got announced. So a dude from Xbox came out, was like, no delay. There's nothing to delay.
Right.
Damage. And the rumor around that was that, again, they needed more time to see what Sony were doing. And it's
Makes
all
sense.
kind of, it's still, we're dead in the middle of a game of chess.
Yeah. It's the deadliest waltz.
Big time.
You've got to think that one of the most fun places to watch these sorts of shows is at their headquarters, figuratively, with from the other side.
Oh yeah.
Because if you could be with the guys at Xbox while this show is kicking off and see their reaction, like maybe they're like, they're the shit show, we're gonna smash them. Whereas they're like, oh god, they just announced Miles Morales as a launch title. We're done. We've just got 1 million units of the Xbox Series X aren't selling.
The rumor about this and the event we just watched and the reason its date changed quite a lot was because Sony saw what happened to Xbox's last thing. We're like, shit, people don't want to see not gameplay event. Like, people don't want to see captured in engine or representative specs. So there are the rumors that they moved games out of this event because they were worried that the reaction would be, well, that's not gameplay.
Yeah.
Or that's not
representative. Yeah, for sure. I can imagine.
And they also probably realized, you know what, we don't want to see the inside of this dude's bedroom on a Zoom call explaining games, like, you know,
those parts of this show were a bit weird, where they had the people there going, hi, like you'd show a bit from like Insomniac, and then they'd go, I'm Bob from Insomniac, and then they just cut away, and you're like, was he going to say anything else? No,
it's probably what Jamie was saying is maybe they had a lot more to say, but then they were just like, you know what, fuck it, we're not going to do it.
I think it's also pacing. Like
100%.
Give people 2 seconds to go on their phone and have a drink.
Did you find it kind of odd with sorry to go back all the way to the beginning, but the 1994 to today, and they were like 25 years of gaming, and they showed about 3 seconds of the PlayStation 1, 2, 3, and then they were like, here's 10 games from the PlayStation 4, and then you had a guy saying, 25 years of PlayStation, you've just seen it. And you're like, well, we didn't. We just saw a few PlayStation 4 games.
It was kind of weird, I guess. But at the same time, I kind of understand it, right? Like the people that you're selling PS5 to are the people that you sold the PS4 to, not necessarily the PS3, the PS2, and the PS1.
It just makes me think about recuts, re-edits, because they changed what they were thinking a little bit, and they tried to change some pacing.
Oh, dude! At the end of this whole thing, where they had all of those different developers with like titles and coming from devs that didn't even feature in the show, and you think to yourself, you've got this footage of them telling the camera, which is presumably telling an audience how great the PS5 is and what your game can do on it, and you weren't even in this fucking show. Like, 100%, it was fucking curated as a result of probably the perceived blowback of what happened on Xbox.
Yeah. And there's one thing I'm trying to find here. It's a quote that I read just before it went live from Imran Khan, who was a former senior editor at Game Informer.
Not the cricketer.
Not the cricketer, no, sadly. You're the second person to make that joke to me when I've done this. Today will be a good hint of what's to come for the PS5, but it's far from their full schedule through 2021. Sony has been spending a lot of money to have a ridiculous first year for the PS5, then picking up at a reply he later did. Sony knows a good first year sets the tone, and there's more shows than just this one. This one should be good, but they know what they're doing when parceling out announcements. So there is a hint that, like, even today there was an element of keep some stuff so we have big bullet points for other shows.
Yeah, so you could imagine then that maybe their August thing would be a fucking boy moment, you know?
Right. Like things that we know exist that like are kind of strange that they weren't here, like Silent Hill. Like could easily be another big like mic drop moment. That's the kind of thing you stick into a state of play and the whole thing gets elevated.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't.
And all you got to do is wait until Xbox put a thing out and it does mediocre, and then you drop something and everyone forgets that even happened, and then they just talk about you again.
Yeah. So just going to what I said about my prediction about Microsoft and Xbox's event, I think they will blow their wad in that one show, and that's why it's going to be a better show. But after that, they're going to be like, "Well, we're just shooting We're just shooting blanks now."
Seeing Fable will be one of my highlights of the summer. Like, so they've got some tricks up their sleeve that are instant wins for certain people of certain.
And think about what they pulled out last time with Cyberpunk as well. So there's third
Elden Ring was on their stage.
Oh yeah, third party surprises that I'm fully expecting Starfield to show up at Microsoft's event.
Yep, could easily do it. There was that one year where there was loads of third-party titles. They announced Devil May Cry 5 on their stage. They announced Dying Light 2 on their stage. Just little bits and pieces like that. Yeah,
it was mad. Well, anyway, that was a fucking behemoth. This might be the longest podcast we've recorded.
I think it's comfortably.
Yeah, and we didn't.
It's the first time breaking the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about fucking what we did in our last week, so there you go.
I like that we started off this before we actually started recording, saying, if it's only an hour long, it'll be fine. It's late, and it's been 2 fucking hours.
It's mad. Maybe we should have cherry picked the games, but you know what? Talking about everything just kind of makes us feel good because we're excited, and hopefully you were excited too. And I hope that you stuck to the end. And if you did, congratulations. You are now a lesbian dino furry, so congratulations.
There you go. It's almost like this is going to be the most important secret message ever, because if you really did make it to the end of this one, then fair play to you.
So what is going to be the code? I mean, it's not.
I think we need LDF. We can have an abbreviation of lesbian dino.
LDF. Yeah.
LDF gang.
LDF gang. There you go. Hell yeah, LDF gang.
We all know what it stands for.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
to say it.
With that, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching on YouTube or listening, if you're listening on a podcast platform of your choice, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Rate us 5 stars on iTunes, all that good stuff. Support our Patreon so that we can make this kind of content and other kinds of content, coming soon. TM, hopefully. And with that, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time for hopefully a shorter podcast. See ya.
See ya.